Greetings, salutations, and other big words. My name's Ethan. My handle is Wrangler. Welcome to Frequency Studios, weekly Wing It number 4. And here with me tonight, we got Raven Nevermore. Raven, how you doing?
Good.
And also back with us once again, Trippy Soul. Trippy, how you been?
Freezing. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think they call it January.
Yeah, definitely winter time. But you know, I'm in Southern California, so I can't handle the cold.
What is the temperature there?
It's freezing 51 degrees.
I'm in New England. Can I come over there?
know,
Asher Burnett. Greetings. Bernert. Sorry, I said it wrong. Using the chat. So, yeah, winter time's getting cold. Guess that means more stuff to watch, more TV. But, man, there's not really a whole lot going on out there that's really making me get excited anymore. I think it's time. Think it's time to pull out some of the old DVDs and watch what we used to love.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend of mine today, and we were talking about older shows that he started watching since he hadn't seen them in a while, and he wanted something good to watch.
Yeah. So what was he watching?
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember what it was, but I was telling him about some of the old Disney movies, like the Davy Crockett movies, Daniel Boone stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking even older than I. You said older Disney movies, and I immediately thought of Lion King.
Oh, no, I meant, so I think both of those were done in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw it when I was a kid. Wasn't there a Davy Crockett show?
There may have been a show. I don't remember. I know they had like a Daniel Boone, and then they kind of used a whole bunch of the same props and stuff for like a Davy Crockett, I think. And I think they just like intermixed the same storylines and stuff. So could have been Daniel Boone, could have been Davy Crockett. I don't know. I've actually not been able to see or find the shows on Disney. So I think the TV series is not on Disney, but the two movies were.
Yeah. Remember Saturday morning cartoons, Trippy?
Morning cartoons?
Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, I can't even remember the Saturday morning. I remember like Toonami mostly. I remember the afternoon cartoons, after school cartoons. That was it for me as a childhood, you know.
I remember the commercials to that. The voice of Optimus Prime saying Toonami for their commercial. Was it Peter Cullen, right?
Oh, I can't remember. I have to look up those old. It was a long running series, like TV program. I guess it would be. Toonami started in like 93, 94. I want to say. Really, It started like a little concept back then as a Cartoon Planet. I guess it was, and they had a lot of like the old Hanna-Barbera shows and stuff like that. Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. Yeah, I remember watching that as a childhood.
That's one that I know a lot of people have talked about, but I was never actually able to see that one.
Oh, it was great because it was like there were so many talk shows for adults, you know, but there weren't like talk shows for a kid. So the concept kind of like worked, and he actually had these like celebrities come on and do some like pretty good interviews. But it was very tame. You couldn't do anything like that. But I think the showrunners for that, Mike Lazo and stuff like that, they went on to do Adult Swim basically later on with all that with the second character. Okay. It made it great. But Saturday morning cartoons, I was a kid in the 90s. Saturday morning cartoons was more of like 80s things, I think, really, if I think about it.
Yeah, I guess. When did it die off? Early 90s? Or?
I can't, because I don't know what changed. Because I can't, maybe it's just my my childhood. I can't remember what I did on Saturday mornings. Video games became more. The arcade died and the home console boomed. So now on Saturday mornings, you don't watch a cartoon and go hit the arcade. You stay at home, then you may as well not even watch a cartoon, play the video game, you know?
Okay.
I think that might have changed it.
I remember waking up for Saturday morning cartoons. Which ones, I don't remember, but I remember that was about the only reason to wake up on Saturday morning. And then later on into the 90s, it was like I don't remember there being anything
I think
good
back
on.
to them. I can't remember which ones I saw during the week. It was Transformers was the one I was big into, and then Thundercats, GI Joe.
Yeah, Thundercats, GI Joe, Silverhawks, I think was one of them.
I remember them, and then they tried to follow that Thundercats theme with a couple things. There's Silverhawks and Tiger Sharks. There may have even been one more. I don't know, but none of them took off like Thundercats did.
Yeah.
It was like Hanna-Barbera. They struck gold with, ironic, I got to bring this up now, Scooby-Doo. But that formula, they tried to recreate that formula with a bunch of other shows, a group of kids and a cool mascot / sidekick type character. In one case, it was actually a talking car.
Yeah,
they did it with a Rubik's Cube.
What's the name of that one?
Wasn't Speed Buggy, I don't think, was it?
I can't remember.
They even tried it with Jabberjaw, a shark.
Yes, Jabberjaw. I think that was maybe the next successful one out of Scooby-Doo, just because the character Jabberjaw.
Which I think they probably pretty much based them off of Rodney Dangerfield.
So the funny thing is, I remember GoBots. And the interesting thing was GoBots, I thought, was a spinoff of Transformers.
No,
but it apparently came out the year before.
Yeah, I think Hasbro's still sore about that.
And I am here to defend 90s Saturday morning cartoons, or more so
I know, right?
early, like late 90s, early 2000s. But
What's Speed Buggy?
I've been told that the 90s didn't end till like 2005. So. But there was a fair amount. I remember there was some anime that started making its way. If you were a poor kid, you probably watched Fox Kids. There was a lot of stuff on Fox Kids.
Digimon.
Digimon was one that I really got into. X-Men was on there.
Yeah,
Digimon
Didn't
was like
Batman the animated series actually start off on Fox Kids?
Mid 90s though, but yes.
I think there was one on there. But yeah, like if you didn't have Cartoon Network, you watched Fox Kids basically. I remember one that I posted multiple times in the Gilded was I actually really got into it when I was younger. Looking at it now, it's actually kind of iffy. It's Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, basically a cyberpunk Sherlock Holmes, where he's frozen, and then I can't remember if they clone him or just dig him out and make him younger. One of the two.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, then he's got to go fight a clone.
It was a
of
PBS
Moriarty.
show. That one wasn't really Fox.
It aired some episodes on Fox. I remember a few ended up on there. It was an all right show. It was an all right show.
The two 90s shows that I really liked was Gargoyles and X-Men.
Ooh, Gargoyles was really great.
Yes,
that
it was.
is I don't want to say it's a forgotten classic, but definitely an underrated one. Like people don't often just say
I would
Gargoyles.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And if you close your eyes and listen, it's really Star Trek: The Next Generation because the voice cast is them.
Really?
There was two things I liked about it because going into college, I ended up taking a mythology class, and what struck me was that they really knew their mythology and they figured out how to tie it all together and such. And then again, like you said, it was the next generation crew was most of the voices.
Anybody remember Mighty Max?
That sounds familiar.
Isn't that a mouse?
The baseball cap that allowed him to open portals.
Yep. I loved that show. I know it was goofy and dumb, but I loved that show. And then they canceled it. After the season finale, they set it up for a big thing, and they canceled it because I guess they said it was a little too much for the age group it was aimed at. I'm like,
oh yeah.
I don't think they realized they had an older audience watching it.
Yeah,
that happens with a number of properties. I think that kind of happened with Invader Zim.
Technically, that's what happened with Beast Wars. It was designed for an older audience, and a lot of kids ended up watching it.
Yeah, I think part of that was because of the depending upon the area, I think a lot of people thought, oh, it's just Transformers. So, just give it to the younger kids like they had done with the Transformers. But that was, I think, made for an older audience. The time that played for my area, I think, was pretty early in the day. I don't think I was able to even watch that.
You know, I never even watched that series until long after it was done, because even though I was big time into Transformers, I saw it as a reboot and I just wasn't interested. And then, years later, I find out, oh, wait, it's the same continuity as the G1 show I used to watch. And I went back and started watching them then. But,
All right.
they were already over and done with.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of
Wasn't
reboot,
Go ahead.
wasn't there a cartoon series called Reboot or Short Circuit?
Reboot.
Yeah, Reboot. That was when they're like making early 3D stuff for TV.
I haven't watched it as an adult. I'm sure it's bad now, but I liked it as a kid.
The characters were very unique.
Yeah, I thought it was okay for like playing it in the background and stuff while I'm doing other stuff. I don't know how good it was. I think that came out whenever I was probably in college or something.
Oh, actually, no. There's a great episode of Reboot where one of the characters, he's like a kid and he does something to the computer because he's tired of being dumber because he's like a kid. And he wished he was smarter, but instead of making himself smarter, he made everything 8-bit from like 64-bit or something like that, or 128, whatever it was. And so everyone became stupid and he was a smart one. And he had to like fix the system, even though he still wasn't smart to begin with. But everyone around him was stupid. And 2020 really made me feel like that kid, you know?
I think there was an episode of Futurama like that, where Fry the idiot gets surrounded by everybody who gets mentally degenerated. It's quite hilarious.
Yeah.
I've seen that one, and I thought it was particularly well done because these floating brains just attack them out of nowhere and mentally degenerate everybody except for Fry. And you don't know why until like the end of the series or the end of the season when he ends up going back in time. Futurama is obviously just a very absurdist show. He ends up going back in time, and then he ends up sleeping with his own grandmother after getting his own grandfather killed, and he finds out, no, he's his own grandfather, which is why his brain's all kind of wonky and is affected by these big evil brains.
I remember that.
Yes, that was my favorite season because it had just this arc that it really just hit throughout the season. Only popped up every now and then.
So silly. I
like how they had the different tagline at the beginning of every opening credit scene, and then when it got canceled, and then it came back, and they brought it back with like a TV movie, and then when it went into that intro scene, it said it just won't stay dead.
It just won't, right? I didn't even know they had a little movie.
I think that
was
yeah. I only watched
Ginger's Big Score or something like that.
I only watched the first handful of seasons because I had them on DVD, but man, I watched the hell out of those seasons. I knew every episode.
One of those taglines was, "You can't prove it won't happen." And that's my favorite out of all of them.
Can't prove it won't happen.
Sorry about that. I have a new computer, and for some reason the Acer went into airplane mode.
Oh, that's nice. How's the new computer treating you?
Well, the sound's better, but so far it's had a boot up problem, and now it wants to go into airplane mode. So I don't know if it's because apparently it's a known glitch. So I don't know.
However, it seems like you do not have any lag this week.
Yeah.
I know. I seem to be responding and not talking over you guys. It's great.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So I have to choose deal with a computer that randomly goes into airplane mode or a 3-second delay.
Just can't win, huh?
I know, it works.
So any news on that D&D issue they've been having with their licensing?
I heard that I saw a Clownfish episode on that. Now I've seen that popping up in like the news feeds and all that, but I didn't like pay attention to it until you guys mentioned it last week. And so I watched a Clownfish video on it. Like, was it yesterday or the day before? Where it looks like they're looking to walk that back a bit now.
Honestly, I think it's a marketing ploy because they haven't initialed an official apology to the fans. However, on Twitter, if you go and look up their tweet, which is all comments are turned off, there
Yeah.
it was an attempt to fight bigotry and
Oh,
harmful
okay.
D&D stuff.
Of course,
Yeah.
they gotta be the righteous police.
They
I've
will walk
heard
it
that.
back. They will walk
I've,
it back and slowly reintroduce it.
yeah,
Yep.
they did say
Considering,
that in their fine print that they could basically change anything with the 30-day policy. But one thing that kind of raised my eyebrow when I was looking at it, I looked at it the other day, completely forgot most of it, but there was literally like they were talking about getting people's signatures and getting them to sign something, which is kind of weird when you're trying to just release this broad license across your IP. And I'm thinking that's the main ploy there is who can they get to sign this thing? And if they can get enough of the bigwigs to sign them, they can get them in some sort of pseudo contract,
well, one of the things that I was wondering was, it seems like they're wanting to monetize this like it's a digital thing. So it may be that they give you access to an app, and the only way that you can get access to any of this new version is via the app. And then you have to pay a monthly fee or something to get access to whatever it was that you wanted
Oh,
to
it's
use.
building up to that. The problem is it's not only the wording of the contract, but the fact that I bet you what's going to happen is they're going to retract, let the flames die down, reword a couple of things, which will basically say the same thing. So it'll still be a terrible version, but will appease to everybody's better, even though, just because legal jargon, it's very easy to do that.
Yeah, it's
But
kind of like what they do with the gas prices. They jack them up and then they back them down to like, oh, see, it's $3 a gallon now. Isn't that so much better? No, it still sucks.
mhm.
But they make you think it's better because it's not up at 450 anymore. But Billy Bobsack's got a pretty good point. He said damage is already done. Doesn't matter if they walk it back. And I think he's got a pretty good point. They've blown a lot of their reputation with pretty
I think
much their target audience.
we're gonna have to wait long term to see if that's true because people may be more forgiving than they'd even like to give themselves credit for in the long run. A lot of them want to return to their habits and their games that they just want to play. They don't want to be forced into some position where they have to righteously stand to protect something. They're just players of a game.
Yeah, but those types of players aren't the ones that have the money invested into it. This was to target anybody that gets monetized. More importantly, to steal any IP that came from that.
That's the way I heard it too.
It almost seems like, it's like almost like this. They're just going to drag a net across all of gaming and see what they can possibly just happen to snag up and keep.
See, this feels like more like stuff that they were doing in like the 80s and 90s, and then they finally came out with the beautiful open gaming license, which like Annette brought a whole bunch of people in. Whereas before people were splitting off and making their own games and such, but now finally, yay, we don't have to create our own system. We can just use this one thing and publish lots of stuff. I think maybe that was the first, hey, how many people actually want to write this stuff? Because I know at least in one particular case, that they were coming out with a new product. I believe it was the Dragon magazine on CD. And they were like, oh, we'll give it to all of our online mods. And part of the reason for doing that was the mods would look at it and go, oh, cool, this is cool, and then promote it to all the people. And then they find out how many mods they actually had. And they were like, oh, gosh, you mean we have to give it to like 20 people? No, that's too many people. We only thought there was like 2 or 3. And it's something where I think that they've never really known how many people are actually interested in stuff. And so I think some of this has been how many people are actually interested. Let's find out. Let's get numbers and find out what exactly we have to do in order to make money on it. And I just feel like that's what they've constantly done over the years.
Well, Hasbro has been well known for a sneaky company too, though. So this, on all honesty, really doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
I mean,
so looking back at the 80s and 90s and stuff, we had GI Joe come out, and I remember how I got it. I don't remember, but I got this little card thingy with GI Joe on it, and it showed all the action figures and like something else, and it had a mail off item thing to get like I don't remember what it was. It was some little extra toy that was the GI Joe thing, and then watch the cartoon, and then suddenly the next season they've like doubled the number of toys, and then the next season they've doubled the number of toys again. It was like every year they came out with like 10 to 20 different characters, which then meant they had 10 to 20 new toys to promote. And it was going back and looking through that stuff, it was insane. And I understand and realize why the parents complained about having a cartoon show to advertise toys to the kids.
Yeah. See, what they should have done is just release new weapons for their already existing weapons pack instead. You buy the character, then you just weapon pack them, baby. Plus, you got the new Arctic camo. You got to have the Arctic camo.
Yeah.
What
was it? Transformers, though, when they had the when they released the movie, I was hyped up, 10 years old, to go see that, and well, I didn't realize they had a whole bunch of new toys to sell, so they had to get rid of the old merchandise, which meant all those characters I spent, what was it, two seasons getting to know and getting attached to, got blown away on the big screen in front of my 10-year-old little eyes. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Strange. I still like to watch that movie anyway. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment.
It's got a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Thank you, R.C. Scott. He says, smashes the like button. I appreciate that. Royce says, hello, everyone. And
Royce.
Maji Chen, you're down there and you're up here. That quantum bilocation, how do you do that? Is that the magical pony skill?
Yep, it is my magical pony skill.
Great. The Transformers movie was playing in a movie theater like a few years back. Every now and then they'll play like an old retro movie, and I saw it was like playing on the big screen. I didn't hesitate. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go watch it on the big screen. But the volume was too loud, and oh my gosh, there were some parts when it was just like ear bleeding with the music and everything.
But that soundtrack was so good.
Oh yeah.
To my 80s senses, anyway.
It's a badass movie. It's great. Still, you gotta embrace.
Okay, so I used to collect. Oh, sorry. I used to collect Transformers hardcore to the point that I even owned the 4 Japanese seasons when they went back over to Japan for a while. Oh man, you think the techno is bad in the U.S. movies? You go watch the Japanese ones just with the translation on the bottom of the screen. All you hear is like Tron style techno through the entire series.
Sounds like someone's jamming out on the Dance Revolution.
I could only take 1 or 2 episodes at a time. There was too much techno for me.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z did that when they like reamped it in the late 90s. It only ran for the longest till like up to the Frieza saga, and then finally they got like the new episodes in the late 90s, but they changed like the production of it, and it wasn't the Japanese soundtrack. They did the American soundtrack, and the music played nonstop throughout it. It was just nonstop music. There was no silent part. It was just music upon music, and it's the most horrid thing ever. I really don't like that version of it. I always watch the older Japanese dub version.
How did you feel about the newer Transformers that was released on Netflix a few years back? I really liked it. I believe it was called Transformers Prime. Yeah, I watched that too, and I thought it was a lot better than the movies, and it surprised me because it was written by the same people. But
By then,
why is every continuity they gotta kill Cliff Jumper lately? What the hell? First episode. Oh, sorry, spoilers. But
not really a spoiler if it happens in the first episode.
Yeah, I'm not really gonna watch it.
Yeah. I got a kick out of how RC and Jack's mother were both voiced by the same woman, and there was and RC would make little snide comments like, "She does not sound like me."
See, by then my Transformer collecting was over. What really killed it for me was the comics and the second movie.
The live action one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they changed their dialogue just made it so dumb, and you could just tell this is like commercial crap. They're trying to just make this lowbrow, appealing to the dumbest crowd, and just for money.
Well, it wasn't even.
It was
that.
more of a spectacle than anything.
Yeah, it was a joke, and it all revolved around humping Megan Fox. And then the comics itself, it was dumb. They completely redid everybody's characters again in terms of their origin story so that they could fit around the movies. And it just, I mean, I understand that they slowly added on because the original Transformers 80s, there was no real origin stories. It was bye. And Beast Wars added to that, but it just killed the franchise for me. I couldn't go on after that. I saw the third movie, but by then I was so done. I haven't seen the fourth or the fifth.
Now, which one was it? It struck me as odd. It ended so abruptly. It's like they won the battle, and then like they just start kind of rolling away from where the battle just took place, and it goes to credits. And like, there's no aftermath. There's no kind of epilogue scene. Nope. It's just like, okay, fight's over. Movie's done. And it does bug me how they seem to miss the boat on it's more than just a spectacle. All these characters had established personalities that people were familiar with. They wanted to see those personalities interact and add their own flavor to everything, but instead it was just, battle bots. Nothing wrong with the battle bots. Don't get me wrong. It's fun, but I wanted to see, some actual characterization in there too.
That's the problem. There was none. Devastator should have been a badass entry with a lot of different quirks and personality.
And I wish he got his old voice. That would have been awesome.
Instead, he was just there to destroy and have truck nuts. And then Jetfire, they turned in some cranky old guy that was literally falling apart as he walked. When Jetfire, his whole entire storyline was he betrayed the Decepticons and became an Autobot, and they showed no respect to any of that.
They don't care. It's just an IP they had.
Oh, what was it? I think it was the fourth one. It was bad, but for some reason, out of all the ones I saw, it was my favorite. The one with, I think one of them's called like Long Shot or something. It was the one where they introduced the Dinobots. The Autobots themselves were a lot more fun. They had a lot more personality. So even though the storyline was just as dumb as the rest of them, they were at least fun to watch, sit there and quip back and forth and act like individuals with different personalities for a change. It was kind of neat. Still, it was missing a lot. It was not good by any stretch of the imagination, but I did enjoy that actually we got to see, even though they're nothing like the established ones and some of them were all new characters entirely. I think one of them was voiced by who does the voice of Bender in Futurama?
Oh, the same guy that does Jake the dog and Adventure Time.
I think he
and Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War.
I think he did one of the voices. Look that up. Whatever's the one is like when he transformed, like half the hood like goes kind of supple and acts like a trench coat. It was actually kind of neat, and I think that was the guy who was voiced by Bender as well. So
I think it's John
he's good at
DiMaggio.
always throwing personality behind us. Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of voice critics. Him and Nolan North, I think, is the other voice actor that's like done a lot of stuff.
Well, we can't sit here and talk about Transformers without talking about Frank Welker. That guy has done so many different voices. For years, his nickname has been the Voice God. He's the original voice of Freddy and Scooby Doo, and then when Don Messick passed, he took over Scooby Doo. He's also in Futurama. He was half the cast of Transformers. You see his voice pop up everywhere. It's like this guy has done so much work, and a lot of times it's just like background voices and stuff. But he'll play like 5 or 6 different characters in one show.
And they'll all sound different.
Yeah.
Oof, look at that credit. Started off in 19. Oh no, that can't be right. This thing's out of order. 1981.
Where do you got him pulled up on IMDb?
Nah, stupid Wikipedia.
Scott Neal is another Transformer voice actor that was really good.
Scott Neal? Not familiar with him.
Rat Trap and Dinobot and Beast Wars. So that's why their arguments were so good. I actually watched a clip of him at a con. He would argue with himself, reading both their scripts, feeding off each other. That's why their arguments were so much energy. He just didn't stop. He just switched between the two voices as he was reading the script.
Oh, wow.
And I bet that's one thing that we're going to start seeing more in the Iron Age is a few voice actors pop up as well. Once some projects start getting off or somebody,
that would be awesome.
I remember who was it? I think it was Vic Mignogna who said that the voice actor industry has really got like a stranglehold on it with only a handful of people. And if you really want to become a voice actor, all you really need is like a 10-hour class, and you've got kind of what it takes to start moving your way up the industry if they would allow people into the industry. But, obviously it has to be a commodity of some kind. They got to put scarcity on it.
But Vic is also a very huge supporter of garage projects. I mean, we saw his Star Trek project.
I'm not familiar with him.
Vic Mignogna is a famous voice actor for anime. He's also a singer, so he's a fan of the underdog.
He's also kind of that who we won't name or something, because there was some legal thing going on here recently that, like last year, I think it was, that a whole bunch of people got pissed off at him about, and I think they pretty much kicked him out of the industry.
They did. He was almost forced out of the industry. There were some accusations that were pretty rough at first, and they turned out not to be true, I believe. And there are other accusations. It never went to court, mind you. None of this went to court. But the worst that they're still accusing of him today is that he hugged fans at cons. That's like the big accusation of him. He hugged fans at cons.
They really don't like him.
Yeah, he's like excommunicado, which is why I think,
Well, hold on. I have a character witness for him. Let me call forth the ever reliable Billy Bob Sack.
He's really good. He's funny, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did the voice of Vegeta in one of the Dragon Ball Zs. They did a lot of Dragon Ball Zs.
Any anime from 2010 and back, he has something to do with. Not saying all, but pretty much any major mainstream Funimation, he had something.
I guess voice acting though takes a bit of a different talent than like I've heard some people point out. Look at the Marvel actors; they play their roles pretty well. But then, if you look at the What If cartoons, where a lot of them voiced the same character, and they didn't seem to have that same delivery when it was just their vocals, as opposed to acting on camera. So I guess there's a bit of a different skill to be able to just voice act.
Yeah.
And one I must say, I'm sure pretty much all of us are Batman the Animated Series fans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mark
Oh, yeah.
Hamill knows how to deliver in just voice with his Joker, because that is just
Oh yeah.
his. And I'm so bummed about the passing of Kevin Conroy. When I read a Batman comic, it's his voice that I hear in my head when I'm reading Batman's lines.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Legendary. Don't
Yeah,
think
that
anyone
really
will fill those shoes.
that cemented Batman in a lot of people's hearts and minds.
Yeah, I that's the whole reason I actually cared about Batman. Even after I've seen the Batman and Adam West shows. I watched the Michael Keaton movie, which was good, when it came out. But I didn't really get into Batman till the animated series. I'm like, this is
Uh-huh.
cool.
Mhm.
Oh, every time I went out to California to visit my cousin, it was Batman as much as we could get. And part of that was, I think, that I was not getting the reruns at home. And so that was the big thing. I found out he had Batman on his local channel, and I was like, yes, let's watch it. And it was like the one thing that both of us could really agree on a lot.
So I went. Okay, so which is funny because I'm not an anime con person, but my friends were really big into the anime scene. So we had a deal. I go to Anime Con with them, they'd go to Comic Con with me. But one time I was sitting in a panel with Eric Vale, who's the voice of Trunks from the original Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And he said the best training that you can have to be a voice actor for cartoons or anime is to actually do live action plays. The reason for that is one, it works on your voice trajectory, and two, you can catch emotions in your tones.
Hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yep, that kind of makes sense.
Maybe a form of improv would help as well, I'm sure.
Well, another thing is
I didn't. I started to
now-
get into anime in the early '90s, but I didn't stick with it. But this is just such a fun show. Anybody ever see Castle Cagliostro?
No.
I have
Uh-huh.
not.
Based on Lupin the Third's manga, I believe.
I've
He's pretty much
seen-
an international cat burglar.
I seen the Lupin the Third anime, a handful of episodes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
same character.
Okay, yeah, he was a very fun character, very Cowboy Bebop-esque, with a bit more of a noir vibe. Slightly more anyway. It's been a while since I've seen him, and that's an old anime. The animation style obviously tells, but it's worth a watch. A lot of them aged well.
Well, one of the things with voice acting is that if you've come up with a particular voice, unless you're really good at continuing that voice, it's really hard. Because in some cases, like you like nail off of one shot of some voice or something, but if you can't consistently do that, that's one of the difficult things.
You ever see what Seth MacFarlane has to do? He voices half the same cast, and he'll have arguments with himself pretty much through these different characters.
I guarantee you that guy
switch
talks to
back and
himself
forth.
in there.
Oh, he must. He must. And then I was watching. I don't remember where I was watching this, but somebody pointed out. Look at him do Brian and Stewie in an argument where Brian starts trying to imitate Stewie's voice, and Stewie starts imitating Brian's voice. He goes, "Think of how complex that has to be.
Yeah.
Kind of mentally keep track of what you're doing."
Same with the South Park guys. They voice almost all those same characters.
How's it going,
Basically-
Herman P. Hunter?
Basically, the Gilded Chat
Pretty much. Kill
for
the
the
cat on
world to
YouTube.
see are
This is the whole idea of the Iron Age. We're not staying in Gilded. We're nice. We got to go attack YouTube every now and then.
right.
One of the voice actors that I keep finding in other different animes is the Billingsley, the guy that did the voice of what was it, Chet in Cowboy Bebop, the English version.
Oh, I forget his name. I know the voice.
Unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
I never did watch that.
It's
Bo
worth a watch.
Billingsley,
It's really good.
Jet Black.
Cowboy Bebop's pretty good. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he keeps popping up all over the place.
Funny thing, one of the characters from Cowboy Bebop, the main guy, Spike, they had the exact same voice actor, and it looked like they almost had the exact same character model with just limited detail changes in the anime Samurai Champloo. Just kind of like a samurai-esque. Well, it's a 100% samurai anime, but it's got like a hip hop vibe to it. It's got a hip hop soundtrack. It's pretty good. But like if it's like the character looks just like Spike if he was in a freaking samurai, show. So if you like that character and voice actor, check out Samurai Champloo. I don't think it's that long. I think it's like a one-off, one season thing. Yeah, it's pretty good though. I enjoy it.
I love Samurai Champloo. I think that's one of the ones I tend to watch and with subtitles instead of the English voice actor. But it's like I don't know if you've watched Cowboy Bebop. The difference between the voice, the English version versus the Japanese version. But it's like the guy that did the Japanese version of what's his name? Good grief! Now I'm gonna have to go back and look. Spike. Sorry, Spike. The guy that did the Japanese version of Spike went for like a comical type thing, and I don't like it as much as the way it was done in the English translation. The English translation is much better.
Very suave.
Yeah.
Cool. Suave guy.
This is his inflections. Steve Bloom, that voice actor, the way he can handle his comedic wasn't as over the top comedy. It wasn't like shouting. It was just like, haha, that's me, kind of dumb about it, just kind of naive. And then he goes into that deep, serious voice, like, I'm going to handle some fucking business now, I think it's great for it.
Yeah, I know I've been doing light voice acting on my dang shorts, but that's kind of just forcing it. It sounds like just somebody reading something because that's exactly what
that's narration. Narration's a little different from voice acting.
Yeah. I might try to look into it, but I know it's going to have to get a new microphone and basically move to a whole new place. So it's like maybe amateur stuff. Only for
I watched that last night too. Your latest upload.
Thank you.
I think it was last night. The
long video.
I think was the woman from Daughter.
Yes, Catalina of Daughter, which I found out some reason if I put like royal or queen or anything like that, it seems to tank the video. So I leave those because that's supposed to be like a princess, but I leave all that out for whatever reason. I don't know, but they seem to tank the videos.
That's weird.
Yeah, whenever I have one of those, so I leave that out and I just leave it in the video itself. None of that's in the description or the title.
Now how goes the RPG system building for that?
Slowly, right now, I'm focusing more on the short stories because I just launched the Substack. I'm taking it super serious. I'm launching one short story a month, and I'm uploading twice. I'm thinking of twice a month or once a month. I want to upload at least one poem that's kind of like a historical poem because one of the factions writes their history down through poem and art. So I want to release one of those and at least two in-world newspapers from one of the other factions. But I also want to release something else from the third faction. Give a little bit from each faction every month. As well as a short story. So that takes up a lot of time. And the way I hear it, RPG systems take a lot of time to develop anyway. So going slow on it isn't necessarily the worst thing to do, especially when I'm trying to focus on building the world and introducing people to the world and providing content for paying subscribers and non-subscribers. I actually ended up getting 2 subscribers. One subscribed for a year, which was awesome. And the other one subscribed for a month. So, I was all cheering myself on. Like, well, now I got to release stuff for them. So I released my first thing yesterday. I wasn't planning on it, but, the the latest stuff I wasn't going to release until next month, and I thought, yeah, let's not wait that long for paying subscribers. Put something out for them now. So I gave them some early stuff. They got some early stuff, and they're
Sorry.
going to get some more early stuff later on this month. They're going to get an early version of the story. So that's.
And speaking of which, you're not just doing those shorts though. Everybody, he put up this nice, what was it, a good 20, 25-minute video, I think?
Yes.
A nice explainer of the lore of the world without end. And it's, check it out, because this is going to become something. So
I hope so.
check this stuff out, get to know the lore, get to know the world now, because it's probably going to be something that's going to pop up more and more in the future.
Well, you're definitely going to see a lot more of it, because I'm not going to stop, and I'm just going to, keep going for the foreseeable future. Maybe switch stuff up here or there, but I just want to just keep providing interesting and entertaining content for people to consume. And if I could release like full-blown freaking cartoon-esque videos, I would, But I eventually want to release something like that. But that's far away into the future.
Yeah, that takes a crew. You're just one man,
Yeah.
Oh, believe me, I've sat here and fantasized in my head about making cartoon video stuff of my own IP as well, and I'm like, how can I realistically do this? Well, I'll just keep writing for now. So,
yeah, exactly.
I think like voice acting in radio theater is as close as a small, like maybe 2 or 3 person crew could get without really doing heavy investments into it. And I'm looking into that because obviously that's an old art form that's been mastered long ago, where they used to release them, once a week and stuff. So it's, I'm looking into that as well. But all that takes time, and I gotta find out where to fit it in this giant mix, because it's basically become like a part-time job besides my actual job.
Honestly, if I could afford to hire an animator, I would just get like a cool 20-second commercial made up, good quality 20-second animated commercial to run for my stuff, because I would not be able to afford to actually do what I want to do with the animation.
Oh yeah.
But, that's why there's a reason they cost big bucks, because they can do something I cannot.
Cartoons wise, I can't do basic animations, floating text, image manipulation. All that's within the realm of my profession. So I'm lucky to have that at my own disposal, because I know, like, if I were to charge somebody to produce the stuff I'd be producing weekly, I'd be looking at $400 to $500 a week for the stuff that I'm producing. So it's good to have that to fall back on.
Oh yeah, all those little things can build up quick. And that's what makes your skill so valuable. You know how to do it, and sometimes it's as valuable knowing how to do it yourself. Not only is marketing a thing, but being able to handle something most other people can't on your own is also quite liberating.
Yeah. Sometimes it provides too much of an optional way to go, because then my mind just gets filled up with about 20, 30 different ideas I know I can do, but I just don't have the time to do. So it's like, having to choose between them. But it's fun. I enjoy it. And to see actually income coming in, even if it's just like $60, $70 this early in, is still pretty cool. It's up there.
That's really amazing.
Yeah. So I'm good. Happy for the subscribers and backers. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't really see too much of your stuff pop up in my Substack inbox when I'm in there.
I think I only posted like 3 things right now, because I kind of put out as a bundle, because I really don't want to shove a bunch of stuff in people's inboxes all the time.
Yeah, your daily upload is on YouTube, I believe, right?
Yes, daily upload.
World Without End on YouTube.
On World Without End Lore on YouTube. And lore. Even that World Without End Lore. I only share maybe 1 of those videos a week, maybe 2 on Gilded, because I don't want to be the spammer.
Yeah, but you gotta get yourself out there. No, on the Gilded.
Excuse me, I'm gonna go put my stuff all over Gilded.
That's what I did that with my probability poem, the one for the prompt for the Iron Age Media this month. And that's got the most likes on my Substack right now, just because everyone's great in the Gilded chat and they click on it and they like it, and it's only a minute read. So Goes
Poems
fast.
are fun. They're great because most of them aren't that long. Some of them can be extremely long, but that's not the norm. And they're really great, short, consumable media that can stick with you in the long run.
Oh yeah,
Give you
they have
something to
great
ponder.
potential.
Yes, you take
Um,
them seriously.
Well, see, here's the problem in my case is a lot of my high school training and stuff comes from improvisation and then, of course, a lot of role play. So I know how
Yeah,
to write more scripts than I do actual stories.
that's fine. You could use actually, one thing I've been doing is I've been using an AI to help me rewrite stuff to sound more because I'm writing a story that has a military character and the stuff I write doesn't sound like a military character. So I type out my little paragraph and I say, can you kind of suggestions of what a military character might say within this setting? And they'll just start giving me suggestions. So it's possible to actually use some of these upcoming AI tools people are afraid of to advance
Yeah,
yourself.
I
Character
grew up
voice.
on military bases. I could tell you exactly what they say, but it might not be appropriate.
yeah,
Yep.
Exactly. But it's a great way to get insight into things you might not know, or even just kind of say, hey, does this sound like the way I want to sound? Like, things like that.
I could feed a couple lines of my poems and see how it like rearranges it. Maybe I'll see something I don't see, and then I can draw something back from that. Just
Yeah.
another tool.
Your Quarkness. Welcome.
Hey.
Kind of low.
You there?
I said, what up?
Oh, really quiet.
Yeah, your volume's way down tonight, dude. How you
I didn't have
doing?
the mic close enough or something.
All right, we got another Trekkie on. About time.
Yeah, not my category.
You're a scrolly, Maji.
A scrolly? What is
Yeah.
a scrolly?
Elder Scrolls? Oh, Lord, get with the fucking program, woman.
Scrolling.
I thought she was a brony. Oh wait, no, that brony means specifically a dude, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, I'm deep. Okay, so the pony thing. The show was cute and all, but like I said, like I told some of you in Gilded, a friend actually made this for me who was a brony. And because it wasn't copyrighted and very unique, I figured it would be an okay avatar to use because everything else I have is copyrighted. So,
What's on its leg? What's the logo? The symbol?
it's a heart. It's like a heart crossed with a paw and a stethoscope.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It
it's
looks
kinda hard
like a
to see.
handprint with a heart and a fucking twig sticking out its ass.
Also looks like you're smoking.
It basically shows that apparently I'm caring. I like animals because I studied biology for a long time.
And
And that is not a cigarette, it's a Pocky. You can't see it because of the shape of the picture, but there's a box of Pocky right next to the edge of the tail.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't even notice that because it blended in with the hair because I can't blow the picture up any bigger. But
yeah.
I don't know. I often imagine if I try to imagine what you look like, you always have that expression on your face.
That's my I'm kicking your ass gaming expression.
I actually had a My Little Pony when I was a little boy. I had the boy one, that little Clydesdale orange one. I don't know why my mom got it for me. Maybe I asked for it, but I don't think I watched it. I don't think I watched the show. I can't remember.
My Little Pony. Yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't it right alongside Care Bears or something?
Yeah, and do you remember Pawpaw Bears?
Patrol?
No, Pawpaw Bears.
That sounds very familiar.
Let me make sure that's what it is.
Bear
It was basically like they had like a totem pole that would come to life, and it would help them out or something like that. Maybe that's
you need a background here.
No, it is Pawpaw Bears.
Pawpaw Bears.
They were it was Native American. So it's probably very offensive if I watch it as an adult. I don't know what's in there, but who knows?
It was meant to be progressive and representation back then. Now they still look at it and go, "That's racist."
Yeah, exactly. But this is back when I learned that it had it was part Native American and everything like that. So I probably was way into the show. But yeah, the totem pole. Yeah, it had like a turtle, a bear, and an eagle on it, and they like use some power to like make the totem pole come to life and help them out in the situations. I can't remember. It was an
What
old
was
show.
the one with the pandas and there was like 3 panda bears, and like when they had to take on a threat, they would merge together into one big panda bear. Papa Panda. We lost our minds in the 80s with our cartoons.
That's fine. I think we need more of that. Minus the blatant salesmanship to children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! Compared to what's on now, I think I prefer them watching the bear combo than the shit now.
Of course. What is it, Velma? Anybody check out Velma?
Oh, that's not for kids. I don't know what a kid's show is now because I don't have kids, so I'm not watching it. I have a niece, but she's almost 2, so she can't. It's like I go over there and I see Paw Patrol. Yeah, I see that in the background, and it's innocent enough. Seemingly enough.
Wow,
I'm not really
you barely
analyzing.
watch Paw Patrol.
I'm not really sitting there analyzing all of it. I'm not really watching the show. I'm talking with my sister and my mom. I'm not watching the kids show in the background. But
yeah, wait until you find out about Coco Melon.
Eventually, she's gonna get to the age where she's gonna be. Those shows are more like they want to influence that mind. They know the mind is more receptive to ideas.
I got one for you.
And so there'll be a message in there.
I can't seem to escape the My Little Pony, but the new My Little Pony on Netflix is bad.
I didn't even know they had one on there.
It's released in 2020.
So if you watch the new movie, it involves racism.
Oh, of course it does. They're all different colors.
How is that even a thing? How is that possible in the My Little Pony universe?
There's racism between the Pegasus unicorns and regular ponies.
Oh,
okay. Just making sure.
Like the regular, it starts off in a village of the regular ponies, and it turns out that they are so scared of the other ponies that they even have a factory that builds anti-Pegasus and unicorn stuff.
By stuff, you mean like weaponry?
Shields.
Okay, weaponry.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just make it like an anti-military industrialist thing? Looks like they set that up pretty good.
It's bad. So they go out on an adventure because a unicorn comes into the Earth Pony Town to figure out why there's no magic, and then they're afraid of the Pegasus. So they all come together to bring back to magic to end basically the racism.
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
Only ponies can end racism.
All these writers, they're the type that are trust the science and all feelies, all emotion, no rationale, but they have like no self-awareness and definitely no psychological like awareness of anything, because you could just see them writing down their own thoughts and how narrow-minded their ideas are. I heard Velma's a lot like that. I watched the Critical Drinkers review of it because A, I don't have HBO Max. I'm B, not going to watch the show. So,
Nikolai Powell, you mad scientist of genetic modifications! Boom.
Pegasus.
A pegacorn. Ride that into battle.
Yeah. Generate a lot of speed coming down with that horn. Stab.
Yeah.
That's gonna be their mixed race
allegory. You got to help
allegory.
them dislodge from the tree after they impale your enemy.
That's gonna be their mixed race analogy,
Right? Yeah. Season 2.
So stupid. Yeah. Again, they're shallow writers. They don't understand. They trust science. They don't understand science. They don't get the idea of melanin and genetics and where it comes from. There's like 100 genes determining what color your eye, skin, hair, and everything is going to be basically on you. But they just see the surface level thing. Nope. Black, white, brown. That's all they can see. They don't know too much more than that. It's weird.
And I know I'm getting into semantics on this. I've said it before, but I hate when they say it's racism or they've race swapped when really, we're all human. Which means we're all, they're ethnically.
We're all ponies at heart.
Yes.
Yeah, that's-
Bovine creatures are bovine. Let them be.
we're gonna hoof it.
Yes.
Well,
we have
okay,
it here.
so
But
here's
it's like when they say they like race swapped like in these characters and stuff, it's really an ethno swap because it's still the same race, human, unless they turned him into a
Yeah.
Ferengi or something. Sorry, no offense, Billy.
Oh man, wouldn't that be hilarious in a comedy? You're like, well, we race swap the characters, and it goes to the characters and they're monkeys.
Technically, in Guardians of the Galaxy, they technically race swap Star Lord.
Yeah.
He's not ethno swapped. He's still white, but he's of a different species in the movies than he is in the comics.
Okay.
Really?
Wasn't the original Guardians of the Galaxy supposed to be completely different members?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was
I have,
actually
that.
set in the future.
Yeah. I have the. They showed them all in the second movie. Basically, the crew that got together at the end.
Yeah,
Minus
Stallone's crew.
Yondu. Yes. Wasn't there was this really big dude called like Charlie something, a number like Charlie 93 or something. And I think that was supposed to be Sylvester Stallone's character because he wore similar colors. And I remember owning after the movie came out, I went to this really cool spot. Say what you will about California, they got some of the greatest memorabilia spots out there. And I went to this really cool one called Frankensons. If you're ever around Frankensons, it's near LA. Don't stay there for too long because it's LA. But if you get a chance to go there, you'll blow your mind. Stan Lee used to spend weekends there. It's so badass. But I went in there and I got the first like 10 issues of Guardians of the Galaxy where they appeared in a nice hardcover. I have somewhere in my room buried. But it's fantastic. It was I enjoyed the read, and it was nice to see those characters actually brought to life in the second movie. And only a handful of people who read the original ones would know it. So it was like our little secret Easter egg, and I loved it.
So I got one for you.
Yeah.
I have a coworker was selling his old comic books, so I bought a bunch of them for like $10-$20, right? One of the ones, it was a little tattered, but it was still really cool, was the original Superman vs. Shazam with the Shazam origin story.
Oh, wow.
In the movie, Shazam gets his powers from the lizards.
Shazam?
In the
Shazam?
original comic book, Shazam gets his power from a Native American shaman. But they had to change that because of the whole cultural appropriation.
That probably didn't make as much sense for him to get imbued with the powers of Egyptian gods through a Native American shaman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for logic reasons, I see why they would make that change.
I'm just surprised they managed to make a superhero called Shazam. You know?
Yeah, he drinks Shasta.
Yeah, he was originally called Captain Marvel, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of switch up around that time.
Yeah, that's why I got confused when I heard Captain Marvel was on Marvel. I'm like, wait, Captain Marvel's DC. I'm like, oh, I had to look into it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, copyright issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they battled it out in court for the name.
Well, see, it wasn't originally Egyptian gods where he got his powers. It was actually from the Native American Great Spirits, hence the lightning, the wind, the speed. It was all supposed to represent all that, which was cool because I didn't know about that till I read the comic.
And then
I'm sorry. I think it's the Greek gods, not the Black Adam is has imbued with the powers of the Egyptian gods, where Shazam in current continuity is imbued with the power of the Greek gods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, they completely changed all that, and unless you own that original copy, I don't think it mentions it anywhere else.
Ever.
The Native American Shazam.
Well, it's Captain Marvel, but yeah, Shazam.
Native American Captain Shazam Marvel. Whatever you want to call him today, I guess. And he can come from anywhere you want now.
Shamarvel.
Take a Mexican next time.
Well, I think Captain
And we'll
Marvel.
call him Namor.
Namor.
Hey, calm down. We have Ironheart now. We're all saved.
His name needs to be
Why
Juan
is there
Namor.
cornrows in her armor?
Was there really?
Because you gotta be hip and down with the kids, homie.
What? There are cornrows on her helmet?
Yes, if you
I
pull
was
up
told.
Ironheart's helmet, you can see the cornrows.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. I didn't watch the
Maji,
movie.
you got a message.
Ooh.
You're welcome. You don't
yeah,
have to
you-
mention it.
Oh,
I was just trying to
yeah.
help.
Yeah, get on your knees and praise her, bitch.
No, don't you dare.
Dang, I need to go ahead and just
Well,
drop
I'm gonna
freaking
sit here and
fat.
praise you a little bit because you helped me get my numbers up too. So
I need to freaking drop some fat super chats on other people's channels and see how that works. See, I'm not above sleaziness to grow my channel, so I'm all right with sleaziness. I'll get some sleaze on. I don't mind.
Well,
I won't go
great
full
topic.
unethical, but I'll bend.
oh, here we go. Here we go.
Migs.
Mix Marvel.
Mix
Migs.
Marvel.
Migs.
I think she changed to Zer. You dumbass, you quit
If
space.
they release those Marvels movie, it's gonna be a disaster.
That's got to be a tax shelter of something at this point.
Do you think the new Ant-Man movie is going to do well?
I mean, it might, because Paul
No.
Rudd.
They're
But-
refilming it as we speak, finishing up touches.
I'm still foolishly holding on to a little hope for that one. I like the first two Ant-Man movies.
Yeah,
I'm hoping this one isn't gonna suck like Phase 4 ended up sucking.
I haven't
Did you
seen the
see
trailer
MODOK?
yet. Ooh, okay. Was that? I saw something about MODOK. Was that in that?
Yeah,
I heard
it's
that
just
there's
a
a
face
photo.
stretch. That's it.
The
Yeah, and it's
newest
Darren
trailer-
Cross.
I will
I'll
not
be
be
honest.
shocked if the newest trailer gave away the entire movie.
I'll be honest, if there was one character that you could probably change for the big screen, it's MODOK. He has a generally ridiculous look. He could change up some layers around him to make him look a bit more intimidating, other than a gigantic floating head with tiny legs.
Oh,
What it
I'm
is
all
the
for the
face is wrong. I mean, it.
No, he was made
If
to
they
be a silly
kind
character.
of
so
narrowed
it's
up
gonna
his
be-
face a little, it could have worked. I
mean,
got
he was
no
made-
problem with the proportions because
Mhm.
MODOK is that goofy proportioned, but the face just
You're
looks.
just not going to be able to take him seriously, though. And I'm not sure Marvel knows how to give us
No,
a good
no,
wacky
because
villain.
people took Thanos seriously, and he was a fucking purple dildo.
There is a
okay?
big difference between those two characters.
No, there's
by
not
the
a
way
big
they.
difference. He's a
Oh
big
yes,
purple man.
you're telling
All-
me there's no difference between how Thanos looks and MODOK. We couldn't pull them up and point out clear differences. Besides the fact that one of them has a human form, the other one's basically a giant head.
I think MODOK skipped leg day. Thanos did not.
Yeah, so
Well, you guys got to
ridiculous.
remember, MODOK was so ridiculous looking. He actually got transferred to the Ninja Turtle universe for a little
Exactly. That's why. Like he's
Krang.
a hard character to do right in comic books, and they're gonna try to do him on screen. I mean, you might as
Go
well.
for it. I'd
Who's
rather
playing
have a
him
more
anyway?
comic accurate than some bullshit fucking changed, modernized looking version of him.
I agree with Billy on that one.
Just because he's comic accurate, don't mean it's right.
Like,
Yeah,
what, are they
it's
gonna,
not
what, are
Some
they gonna,
characters you
Hold
can
on, no, no.
change.
What are they gonna do? Make him like a skinny, like E-Thought boy or whatever?
No.
And he has like a fucking what is it? The
Well, frankly, that'd be more
protection
hilarious.
helmet.
All you got to do is make him more Lovecraftian looking, make him much more. Keep the kind of form, but make him look darker, sickly. Look like he's
But if
not
they
from
went
the
with the
Earth.
They
They
Make
should
him
have
look
narrowed up
different
his
than the
face a bit.
gigantic
That would
face.
have made a world of
you're gonna
difference.
have to- even if it was like a brain in a jar with a screen, you could see a bit of a face through. You know, things like that. That face was made to be. That character was made to be silly. And if you want people to take him seriously, you're gonna have to do more than you would Thanos, because Thanos does look like a genuinely intimidating character.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a character I would like to see them bring in, and he's one you kind of can take serious and at the same time laugh at. And if Marvel gets back to doing things right like they used to back in Phase 1 and 2, they could pull it off, especially if they give their CGI artists time. And that is Mojo.
Mojo. I don't think I know that character.
He's more of an X-Men villain. He's from an alternate dimension, so he's kind of like almost this big Jabba type slug blob type
You
of
can
guy.
pull up a picture. You can screen share.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I can. Let me.
Yeah, he looks memorable as hell. He'd be an interesting villain.
Mm-hmm.
Just the look of him, really.
Yeah, that would work on live action too. That's kind of. Oh, what do you think of what they did with the main bad guy from Dune, the Baron
Harkonnen?
Yeah, Harkonnen. Because the way that played in the modern Dune, very different.
Yeah, wasn't he supposed to be like
I
a lot more
remember that guy.
Yeah. Look at that. It kind of reminds me of the fat dude from the first Blade movie.
He only showed up once,
Pearl.
I think.
Yeah, Pearl.
The tick, and then there was his name. He was a tick in Blade.
I think they named him Pearl, but he might have been a tick, an alternate name. I don't know. It's been a while since I see that one, but yeah, I look at this character. That character would just steal the show in a lot of regards. He just shows up.
Didn't he show up in the X-Men show once?
I'm sure he had to.
Yeah, I think he originated from the X-Men comics, this one.
I know the X-Men show was pretty much accurate to the comics, right? Like they followed the continuity.
In spirit, yes, very much so.
Okay. Yeah.
They had to
I heard
a lot for the actual show itself, but they stayed true to the comic aspect.
And I heard that with the X-Men 97 that they're working on now, that they actually said you have to be a fan of the old show to come work on this. It's like, if that's true, awesome.
Oh yeah.
How often are they hating the material lately? It's like, oh, this is the IP everybody recognizes and gets excited about. Let's make our own thing and just stuff it in a skin suit that looks like this.
Well, they've also been hiring fucking directors. I think The Last of Us, people who made The Last of Us show, doing the same shit where they're telling the actors don't even play the game and stuff.
Oh yeah, I heard of that.
Material.
Didn't they actually take out the whole fun guy sort of thing from the creatures?
What do you mean?
Like they took away their fungus creatures.
Oh, I haven't watched it, by the way. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I've heard like somebody said that was the thing they did is they just kind of make them basic zombies.
Really? That's stupid.
Yeah, that's kind of like the unique twist, you know?
Yeah, that was the whole idea.
They got cortisol disease or some shit.
Yeah, it's that one that like infects like small animals and ants over there and like.
Yeah,
that's a real thing. It's actually kind of believable.
I have no clue. I haven't watched it. I think the first episode just came out, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I know that there was some social justice talk coming from the actors and actresses, which usually doesn't bode too well for the project itself.
Well, I mean, the main dude's Pedro Pascal, the one who called half of the country fucking racist and didn't get fired for it.
Well, you know, he's just agreeing with the higher up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it. I truthfully, I understand it's a very popular video game franchise. It kind of bypassed me, which was good for me because when that second game came out, it doesn't sound like they treated you fans too well.
I mean, I like the first one. It's not my favorite game of all time. I don't think it's the best game of all time either.
People really act like it truly is. Oh, what is that ugly thing on the screen all of a sudden?
Oh my god, it's snowballs.
He's up, like, Roy? I clicked the link for this.
Oh, I knew what I was coming into.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, testicles, bitch.
Well aware of what I was coming into.
What did you do this time to get roasted so bad, Royce?
I exist.
Mm-hmm.
existing within my presence.
In the same time and place as Billy Bob Sack. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
It's like chemistry.
Dude
You put 'em
had
together, watch 'em
my
react.
ass as his picture for like a month and a half.
Oh boy.
Just to prove a point.
I mean, he woke up to a roast this morning.
I did, you
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
What? I missed what something, huh?
Nothing. Billy Bob Sack roasts me in DMs. That's the thing is Billy Bob
Really?
Sack talks to me the same way in private as he does in public.
Oh, okay. That's a good relationship then.
That's what I
Sure.
strive to do to people.
I thought that
you
was
know?
just the language of Billy Bob Sack in general, but
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know the Brawlhalla streams are under the membership tab on YouTube. That's
Yeah.
why I was
No.
asking you, because if you go through just the normal homepage,
Yeah.
it wouldn't actually pop up unless you go to that membership bullshit.
Yeah. No, and I did that because I'm still trying to figure out the YouTube stuff. I'm still trying to figure out the algorithm,
Yeah.
how it works, and
It's wonky.
yeah. And there's and like I made a promise to Richard from Iron Age Media that Iron Age Nights would never be members only. It would always be live. And a lot of new people I found to like the channel really like the Sunday coffees. And so basically outside of like those two things, like the other live streams will just kind of get membership only and whatnot. There's a couple I think I still need to turn to memberships only, but like for some reason those two live streams people really like. I'm not late for. I didn't even get the link until like 5 minutes ago. And I
We
didn't
know you
need-
were secretly uploading a video.
No, I uploaded 3.
Yeah, I private messaged you because all I saw was
Uh-huh.
on the thing that women, what was it?
Women
Oh,
and
God.
PS5s. By the way,
Actually-
I called bullshit on that, but
Oh,
you
you
said
should see the video.
Women aren't
Well-
as valuable as a PS5. I was like, what
No.
the fuck?
I don't know where it originated, but I saw a
Well, it depends
repost
what
of
women.
Amaranth's tweet
Yeah.
about would
It-
you want this or a PS6?
Ooh.
And somebody's
No.
response was the PS6 isn't even out yet, but I'd rather have that.
That was the critical drinker the other day, and that wasn't Amaranth. This thing's been going around, and I accidentally stumbled
thought
upon
they
it like
did.
last week, and I was like, "What the like?" Yeah, if you watch tonight's video, like it's,
I'm gonna
I
watch it.
man, dude, it's
Crazy out there.
dude, it is so just heartbreaking. Just the way that a lot of these online women, the e-thoughts, as we all call them, they like you can't even do like search like PS5 on Twitter right now. What brought me to this whole thing was the other day I was like going through like the trendings tab on Twitter to see if there was anything that I could, cover for the channel. And it was a PS5 is trending. I was like, oh, cool. Let's go to PS5. And this thing started popping up, and it was like this me or a PS5 or PS5 or me. And it's all these e-thought women. And a couple of them had clothes on. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop just in this tab. I'm just going to whatever. And then I saw Phil Labonte. You guys might know him from All That Remains. He's the lead singer of All That Remains. And he shared the Amaranth tweet. And Amaranth was the probably one of the most conservative ones that I've seen.
Wow.
And she was like, and she's in there, her scantily clad Amaranth stuff. And she's like, oh, me or a PS5. And it just, I don't know, man. Something just struck a chord tonight because it's like the third time I've come across this. And I told my wife about it. My wife was like, what, are you serious? I was like, no, babe, seriously. And so I searched like the me or PS5 thing on Twitter. I'm like, babe, look. And she was like, and I'm showing her. And she's just like, oh my God. She's like, what the hell? I'm like, yeah. It's bad. And like these, like women have gotten to a point online where they're comparing themselves. They're saying, would you rather have me or a trinket? And that's how that's how I say it in the video. And I'm just like, man, men like these like women
Right.
just what?
That's why a lot of dudes are going over to other fucking like third world countries to find wives.
No, but like you're not wrong. It's because I believe that a majority of men, now whether that's 51% of men or 75% of men or 90% of men, I don't know. But I believe that a majority of men want a family. They want something to take care of, to defend, to protect, and to give themselves some value in life. I'm going to tell you right now, the value that I have in my life taking care of my family supersedes that of any other value that I have, just bar none. And it has given me purpose every day. It's why people go, oh, well, dude, don't burn yourself out. It's like, well, no, I don't think you understand. It's like, I'm not going to burn myself out because I have a family to take care of, but I have to push to make sure that I take care of them. And it's just, and I wanted to talk about how just women in society just seem to have devalued themselves online. Not all women, obviously, but the e-thoughts are very present. But all these women just seem to be just devaluing themselves and putting themselves to a point where they're now saying, oh, would you rather have me or a PS5? Which shows the big thing there, right? Women are saying, oh, is it me or a PS5? As if to say, oh, men, what do you prefer more? This inanimate object that shows you, pictures on a screen, or me,
Or a
this
PS5.
girl that you can go crank to for 5 minutes online. And it's so disheartening. It's so disheartening. And man, I'm like, how did we? I mean, I have 3 daughters, and so maybe that just struck that chord in me, just like as a dad. Like, man, we've got to start doing something to get away from this,
Yeah,
What
it's crazy out there.
It comes down to the culture, though. If it's like made more and more acceptable to be doing these things, then they're going to think less and less of doing these things and continue to do it more and more because it's temporary though it may be. For a while, it can be a big cash grab, and there's an allure there because it's like, when they think, well, I only have these, let's be honest, it works off the looks. And if I only have these looks for so long, I better get the money while I can. There might be a degree of that, or it could just be the ever important dopamine hit of all this attention.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of them. And I think it's also kind of being promoted. Hey, look, you can go and devalue yourself and make a bunch of money real easy because there's lots of other girls doing it. And it's disgusting.
And there are those who are regretting it now because even though they were raking in big at one point, they go around and try and branch out into other more traditional entrepreneurial ventures, I guess you could say. Yeah. And the fact that what they used to do for money keeps popping up, haunts them and screws them out of opportunities they otherwise would be qualified for.
Well, think about it this way. How many of these, because a lot of them are younger generation, grew up looking at a screen thinking, oh, it's not going to hurt me in the real world because it's on the screen. So then they're like, easy money. I never have to deal with these people in real life. Just do it this way.
What's that say?
It says, heard of you on FNT and glad I did. Maji-chan, thank you so much.
It's your work.
But I think that's part of the problem, though, is a lot of the younger generation cannot separate reality from the stupid screen, the like buttons, the dopamine hits. And so
because it's become the reality.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's affecting. That's the problem. That's fantasy is affect that dopamine hit is a real thing. They're really feeling good when they feel that from a fake thing. They're pursuing happiness.
I mean,
and so to them, it's easy money because all they see is a TV screen or a phone screen. They're just taking a picture of themselves. But what they don't understand is, one, like you commented earlier, it will come back and bite them in the ass. But two, it actually devalues them in the eyes of guys. Yeah, they'll be a hot fix, but to a guy who's trying to look for a future partner, all they're going to see is a slut and probably move on to the next person that their mother would approve of.
And here's the thing is my wife and I actually talked about this a little bit in a little bit of a different context. And it's like, these women have about 4 or 5 years online, maybe a little bit more, depending on the amount of surgery that they get. And it's one of those things. It's like, eventually the guys are going to go, and I'll use a little bit better language here, but eventually the guys are going to go, yeah, you know what? I've seen that and I've cranked it to that enough times. Oh, hey, here's this new thing. And it's just like, what is that going to do to these young women?
Hey, Royce, you're also forgetting most of them Instagram models, they use fake filters to make themselves look good.
No, and I'm not forgetting that at all. But there's only so much that the person doing the watching is going to watch until they go, oh, well, I've seen this one before. Regardless of the filters, regardless of the surgeries, it doesn't matter. Eventually, guys are going to go, oh, I'm worn out on this thing. Time to move to younger thing, younger new thing, right? And what is that going to do to these women when they've eviscerated their bodies with surgeries that they're not irreversible, but boy, howdy, I don't think you'd want to reverse them because what the body would look like after that. And I mean, it just, but again, it's this short-term thing, and you just see
that's assuming the surgery goes well.
Yeah,
not wrong.
Because how many celebrities have we seen go get some surgery done to try and keep up their looks, and it was a mistake?
Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know,
and not everybody can get away with it like Dolly Parton has.
Oh God!
9 times out of 10, even when they do get surgery, it looks awful anyways. So therein lies the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Get off my lawn.
Who let Moses' first cousin in here? Who let Moses' first cousin in here?
I don't know, but I can't. I want to be the get off my yard guy so bad. I can't wait until I'm 60.
Get off my lawn.
Oh, dude. But you have no idea. You have no idea. I want to shout at the neighborhood. My dream is to be an old retired crank ass sitting on the porch with some other old retired crank asses, and we just glare at the neighborhood children as they go by.
You would be Grandpa Boomer.
Oh, I want to be Grandpa Boomer so bad. And just glare at the children. But here's the problem: is like my wife, like I'd be glaring at the children. My wife, because our kids would be grown up and out of the house, and the grandkids haven't visited yet this week. My wife would come at the house with cookies, and I'd be like, "Stop feeding them! You're gonna bring them here to the house."
They're like strays.
They're like, "Stop it!
Mm-hmm.
If you feed them once, they'll keep coming back."
And don't feed them after midnight.
Like the South Park episode where what was it? Kyle gives the one fucking homeless bum $1.
Oh shit!
Just like the whole fucking village of hobos swarm the town.
Well, okay, so that little post you did, not the video, but the post itself. Looking at the picture, you could tell it's all filtered.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, well, that's not that wasn't the full picture. That was just what could crop in the image. But oh yeah, no, it's all filtered, and again, I chose that one because I was gonna go and look. I was gonna do like a collage, of like the different way. No.
Don't do that.
I was gonna do like the same title, but like a collage of a bunch of the different women who were like, oh, me or Piet, no. I could not. No. And I even said in the video, I'm like, don't search this. I'm like,
I'll be honest with you, dude. I don't even have to search that because I don't even go on Instagram on my phone except to post every now and then. Well, and when I do, as soon as I do, the first thing on my Instagram is a slutty woman shaking her ass. I don't even know how she got that. But every single time I go online, on my Instagram, that's the very first post. And I find out it's because that's what they push based off of my age demographic. And this is what they're trying to feed people. And then, culture feeds into it. I guess people feed into it. And here we are, whatever post-apocalypse we're heading towards.
Well, okay, so I've been combating e-girls online for a long time for obvious reasons. Especially, like, in PS5 games. I have physically seen, in guilds and stuff, in games, where they're like, oh, I need help. I can't do this because I'm a girl. And I'm just like, bullshit.
I know, I got
you can't do this because you ain't a gamer. Yeah,
the problem is I have seen these guys. What, at least with the gamer girls, they will intentionally prey off of simps to get them to do what they want, to give them the skins, to get the crates, and they just feed off of them, and it's ridiculous.
Years ago, a buddy of mine told me that he actually played it off like he was some e-thought chick.
Oh boy.
And some dude just gave him all the freaking loot that he could imagine, and he just bounced. And I'm like, you realize you're an a-hole, right, dude? He goes, I was 16, but I got the stuff that I needed.
Yeah,
there can actually be a YouTube channel. I'm sure there is. It just talks about weird video game guild stuff. Because this reminds me of what my friend told me about. She's female, and she was in a guild. And I asked her one day, guild drama. What does that look like? She says that every now and then there's a chick that comes in and starts hitting up on whoever the hell the guild leader is, and if he has a girlfriend, then she will try to become the new girlfriend, and it's this weird circulation of guild leader girlfriend in these big guilds. It's disgusting.
I thought my young adult life was painful and awkward.
It was, trust me.
I don't feel so bad now.
You should still feel bad.
Dude, I am so glad I am, because I'm in the generation this is affecting. I am so glad that I met my wife when I did.
You lucky son of a
dude. Like, and my wife and I, we just look at each other. We just look at all this stuff going on, and we're just like,
hey, Roy, we're the same age.
I know.
You are lucky. You are.
I
lucky.
know. No, I know. I mean, yeah. Hey, how did a drinker crazy find his wife? Well, he walked into a bar and found a big titty goth girl. That's not a lie.
Yeah, Royce, we're all gonna have to go to a fucking different country to find one.
I tried the big titty goth girl a number of times.
I tell my kids, consider mail order brides, and I only say that half jokingly. Half.
I know. No, I'm dude. It's
man. If you want a wife, just go down to the border, pay $5 for your gas and your for parking for the night. You walk right across. You just show them your ID. You don't need a passport. Show them your ID. You go across, and then you can pick yourself up a wife anywhere you want in person. But
there seems to be a little bit of a lack of companionship in that scenario.
Well, but you know what the screwed up part is, though, is that you would probably find more companionship from that than you would some of these e-thought girls.
Well, if you're going to the e-thought,
I mean, well, okay. So, what would you rather have? What would you like legitimately? Illegal. What would you rather have? Would you rather like that just screwed up situation that James just described, or some e-thought girl that says, "Hey, I've been showing my goods online for the last 5 years, but it's time to settle down for a family."
Trust me, they're going for a lot more than 5 years, my friend.
I think I'd rather have PS5.
Hold up, she's also resentful because she had to settle down with you.
Yeah.
Possibly. She might.
Well, I used to make a lot more money when I used to show off that. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Swear jar. Swear jar.
We don't. It's gonna be real fun sitting around Thanksgiving table discussing the work life.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching this funny. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden your dad's like, "Hey, I saw her online," and you're just like, "Oh shit."
Oh wow.
You know what? That's where it is. I mean, it's creepy, but it's true.
There was this YouTube video on Reddit. I forgot what thread, but it was this chick who was on cam talking about how she's a graduate for what was it? She's like a graduate for some sort of science degree, and she can't wait to start the field. And she's on a cam, showing her body off. She's got like underwear on and a shirt. And then everybody in chat's like, "Oh no, honey, you just ruined your entire freaking life right now." He's like, "No, I just started this like a week ago. What's wrong with being a cam girl and trying to be a scientist at the same time?"
Yeah.
And then it's like he's like, "Oh,
chemistry."
Hey James, did you see the Kevin Samuels video with that one black chick where she was saying she went to college and everything else and all this other stuff, and he asked, "Hey, what job do you do?" And she's like, "OnlyFans."
Oh yeah.
Man, it's so. I take the PS5. The E-Thought has no power here.
Yeah.
What was so funny?
They do have power.
They do.
They don't
do.
unless you're a
Not
simp.
over me.
No,
Well, yeah, but
no,
I
we-
still
Man,
think
dude,
it's
I don't
fine.
even know if it's the simp thing, man. I think okay. I'm gonna play. I guess devil's
It's
advocate for the
toxic
men here.
femininity.
But here's where I think I don't think you start off as a simp, right? I think you are degraded to a point where you go to that option where all of a sudden it's just like, I'll tune into this thing for free. And then you send the thing in, right? Because you've been degraded as a man. Eventually, I think just with this society that we've made, you get beaten down into a simp. I don't think you start off as that because I can't imagine because and Ricada Law talked a while back and he was a little bit hammered too. He was going off on this stream. It was one of his good ones. But he was no. This was one of his good ones. This was one of his really good ones. But he was talking about this parasitic relationship, right? These girls get on there and they say, if you do this, you're helping me so much, right? And it's hardwired into men that we're like, we have to protect the women, right? And so it's like, if you send me a super chat, you're helping me so much. And so they send the super chat and then the women are like, thank you so much, sweetheart. And the guy, because of the way that we have evolved as men are like, oh my God, I protected her. I did that. And it's this weird, creepy perversion of what the male woman relationship should be.
And
Like,
I agree with that, but I also think it's
Good
when desperation sets in. They just need any female
yeah.
attention, whether it's fake or real. You know?
No,
I have an example.
Oh, go. Ooh, okay.
Go.
So I am in Elder Scrolls Online. There are 12-man raids, right? We were putting together a raid. It was myself and a couple of buddies. So we got 11 people. We had 2 people X up. One was a girl, the other one was a random. Well, we went with the girl because she was supposed to be an officer for one of the guilds we were in. So we're like, okay, well, we'll just bring her because, she's a guild officer. She came in drunker than a skunk, hitting on every single guy in the party. Not even 5 minutes into the raid, she starts calling guys hun. I mean, you could hear the whole tone as the thing goes on, as she's flirting with all the guys. Then all of a sudden she starts giggling and says, I peed myself.
What the
And
fuck?
the guys are like, what? Wait. She's like, it's squirted. My panties are now moist. Then all of a sudden, like somebody switched a light bulb off and on. Half of the guys were falling all over her.
Desperation.
And then it got worse. Once we got to we got through the first boss out of 5. We were so fed up with it because people weren't paying attention to the raid. They were more paying attention to her. Guys were tripping on themselves, trying to get her attention. I swear I heard more zippers than button mashing. That by the end of that boss, we intentionally wiped the group and I disbanded.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That sounds like a James Drake book right there.
I've been wanting to mention that.
But he makes fun of it though. He doesn't
exactly that. But that sounds like complete parody. But I know it's real because I've met some of these people. One chick comes in, and then these lonely ass hats just they fall over themselves.
What was
never ran into
interesting
one
was
before.
I took my complaint to the guild master. I'm like, hey, you can't have an officer representing this kind of behavior when we're putting together runs like this. Because, a lot of the guys if in the higher end game doesn't put up with that shit. That could affect your whole reputation trying to get into those raids. And I was the bad guy because I wasn't having fun and I was being an elitist.
Well, no, because the guildmaster was unzipping his pants too.
To get some
Hey, guys, I gotta drop. The dog's getting annoying.
Oh.
So, right.
Okay.
That's not a euphemism, right?
No, it's not.
How's your book coming along?
My dog is very needy, and my wife had to go up and help my my mother-in-law with a medical issue, and he's like, he's having a hard time without her here. So
yeah, he said he got a pit bull and a husky mix.
Yeah, pit bull husky mix. That is not a good combination.
Yep, I get it. Yep.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.
Yeah, I believe that. There's unfortunately, I've actually ran into something like that when I was on I think it was Elder Scrolls Online too. I was just killing some world boss by myself, jumping on my tank character, swinging away, taking forever to kill him, but I got sustained like a mofo, so I know I ain't going down. So this person just types in global chat something like, looking for somebody to raid with. By the way, I'm a cute girl. I want to talk to you on Discord. And of course, it goes most of the way you expect, which is half of them say, "Oh, hubba hubba," and the other half accuse them of being a dude. It's the internet.
I would probably fall into that second category.
Yeah,
that's
Whenever
right.
I see somebody type
Oh,
that,
that's
I'm
right.
like,
Oh,
oh,
dude.
Yep.
Everybody
Yep.
online's a
Yep.
dude. You gotta remember the early internet rules. Everybody online's a dude, even if they're a chick, they're a dude.
Mm-hmm.
And then they
even
just
bots.
started really being very vicious towards some people, like out of nowhere, like straight up saying, "Well, I hope you die" and shit. Like, that's kind of mean to say on a freaking global chat of a game. Okay.
Well, we can talk about men being savages like that too, but at the same time, I can also very clearly see that women know very
Exactly.
well of this and take advantage of this all the fucking time.
Oh yeah. They
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And online, it's nothing but
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of young guys and inexperienced guys that just spend all
Mhm.
their time video games. So some,
Persians.
yes, and then some chick through a microphone comes by, and that's it. Fall over themselves.
Yeah, I have to be careful. Like, all right, so you can usually tell the really weird ones by their gamer tag names
Uh-huh.
versus the
Mhm.
normal ones.
You got,
But even
example?
then, it,
How would you tag my gamer tag of Kiko?
Weird, bro. That's
Uh,
weird.
It'd be pretty normal gamer tag, to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a normal
Yeah.
one. Mine
No,
is
well, it's
when
like
I
my-
made mine back in PS2 era when the PS3 was first coming out.
Mhm.
I specifically chose a gender neutral name because I had a feeling, and then when I entered into the wide world and you ended up freaking dealing with a lot of the really interesting e-girls, you're like, oh my gosh, what the hell? No wonder why guys are so tripping.
They feed into each other.
Well, it's like
there's-
my wife will do the total opposite. Like my wife's, her gamer tag for a little while there was Metalhead Maiden. Because that was she did TikToks with Metalhead Maiden and she did a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, people were like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And she'd lead them for a minute, and then she'd just flip the script and just make them feel like asshats. And they're like, "Oh, hey, do you want to chat for a little bit?" And she'd just be like, "No, I'm gonna go lay down with my husband for a little bit, thanks." And I'd like watch her do this, and I'm just like, "Babe," and she's like, "No, screw these guys." She's like, "I'm here to play a game and have fun." And like, I don't, but, and I think it goes into the desperation thing that Billy Bobsack was talking about. Cause I really think he hit a good point there.
We need more women to act like that. Cause I always say you want to get the guys in line. Well, get the women in line and men will fall right in line. I guarantee you.
No, that is 100% right. You want men to be in line, get the women in line and men will follow suit. You're 100%
join a
right.
freaking army to impress a woman.
One time I went into a guild chat and all I heard was this awkward female breathing and another guy breathing behind it. And I'm like, I'm done. And I left.
I know when you told that story, I said they're doing fucking ERP. You know they're doing it.
I don't want to know what that is.
I am morbidly
Stop.
curious.
No.
It's a dark, twisted path of roleplay.
Why is that always there?
It's a cancerous tomb of D&D and stuff like that.
Oh God.
Ugh. Why can't they just be normal for once?
I mean, well, yeah.
Normaler, like
it's this again. It's it is what they have. It's the social engineering that they've created to make a parasitic relationship between men and women.
Do you think it begins with like porn? Like they first just interact with a digital version of another human being through pornography, and
I don't know if it is. So let me. I'm gonna give an example that my wife and I have seen over and over and over and over. Okay. There is, even at its smallest, at the lowest level, there is at the lowest level a mild antagonistic or even secretive relationship, as if the men and women are enemies to each other relationship. And I've seen this in, like, my wife and I, we've talked with people and they say, oh, I'm going to buy this thing, but I can't tell my wife, right? I have to hide money from my wife. And my wife has talked with women who say, well, I have to hide money from these people. They have separate bank accounts from each other so they can be secretive and go around their partner, right? And my wife and I, we were just like, this is so strange to us, because one of the things that we said when we got together, no, whatever money either of us bring into the house, that's the money for the house, right? It all goes into one bank account. We don't have separate bank accounts from each other. We have separate cards because she has a card and I have a card, and they access the same account. That money is the same money. You don't, and this is one of those antagonistic things that we teach our younger generations, that it's, oh, well, no. And like there are women out there and there are men out there saying, no, make sure, like, if you get with a woman, like, you know, you love her, but keep some money away from her for yourself. And it's those small things that have turned into the society that we have now. And crap like that started way back. I mean, like back, you know, like the 1940s, 1950s is when crap like that started. Hiding money from each other. And I look and I want to teach my children, I'm like, look, kids, if you're with somebody who you aren't comfortable sharing your finances with, don't be with that person. And it's not because money is more important than that person. It's because if you're hiding money from that person, you're making money more important than that
same
person.
Page.
Yeah. But again, it's small crap like that, and where it starts, you know, and these little things that it's okay for husbands and wives to lie to each other about, right?
That's also got to do with, you know, we're not really raising younger people, or most of the generation, to actually, you know, vet your partner, make sure that that's the person you want to be with and who they are as a person. You know what I mean? Because, like, if you know you can't trust this person with your money, and then you're gonna marry them, what's the fucking point? You know?
I agree.
I think it's also because most people, they're also get it deep in their head that, oh, you're probably going to get divorced and kind of ordeal. So marriage seems like a escapable option, like some sort of temporary thing, a vanity even.
Or even about it's just seen as something that's now no longer worth it in many cases, because from the guy's side of things, let's face it, you go to divorce court, odds are it's not going to end up well for you if you're a dude. Guys are looking at this going, why did I work so hard to achieve all this my whole life just to be married to her for maybe a year or two before she ditches and takes everything I worked so hard for? And with that kind of attitude and the no-fault divorce laws, there's a lot of guys going, nope, I'm out. I'm not going to commit. Because they know it's like...
Yeah.
I think the feminist movement shot themselves into
losing. It's like winning the lottery for her to leave.
Ooh, boy, you're lagging.
No, and you know, and it's one of those things that, like, I know my wife and I have talked about this, and my wife's parents, you know, they're divorced, and there's, you know, a lot of family history there, and my parents are not. And my mom was so there's a thing here, and this comes into the religious aspect of it, and so my mom was quote unquote married to, and my mom believes that marriage is a religious institution, right? Well, this guy stepping out on her all the time, not a good guy to my mom and my brothers and my sisters, and come to find out, the priest who supposedly married them was not actually ordained by the church. So they're under the religious. Huh?
How did he get there?
Long story. More than I have time to explain here. But so
Gotcha.
under the eyes of the church and the faith, there was no marriage there, right? Because it was not ordained by God, right? And that ties into one of the things that I think that the making divorce regular in the country and not being answerable to it, to some sort of a higher power or higher faith or whatever. But I think making divorce okay eviscerated the family, and we are seeing the ramifications of it in the modern day.
Yep.
I think divorce is utterly atrocious. And I am not saying that relationships are easy. God, my wife and I, we've been through some really hard times. But this idea that you can just go, oh, I'll just stop. What? There's children involved. Well, but I don't like this person anymore. And I'm not even talking about like the severe cases where abuse is involved. And like in those cases, I still don't agree with divorce. I agree with not living with each other anymore. I don't agree with divorce. And again, that gets into my whole personal, but I'm talking about the people that just married, they have kids and it's just been a rough time and they just go, you know what? I just don't want to be with you anymore. And it's like, what are you doing to your kids? And you've seen how this has just rippled through society. And
you hit the nail on the head with the children part of it. It's
oh my
so
God,
selfish
dude.
to divorce when you have children.
Having been the child of a very toxic, abusive relationship, it was a good thing.
And again, and I'm not saying that things like that don't happen. What I am saying is that divorce, okay, when you stand in front of people and you commit yourself to another person, okay, in front of your family, in front of God, in front of all of those people, okay, I'm not saying that the toxic, abusive relationships don't matter. And the separation, right, where people say, I just can't live in this same house with you anymore because it's too bad, that's one thing. But the idea that you can sever that bond and just go get with somebody else and marry somebody else is very strange to me, right? And again, it does come down to this idea that there's something higher than us governing a bond like that. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And people, but a lot of people probably have.
Correct.
Being someone who's been through divorce, and I can say yes, it does affect the kids. It is a horrible thing. I thought it was a good thing at the time. I've been through two of them. And looking back, I got a lot of regrets about some of those choices I've made. And especially when, I barely knew my kids when they were growing up. And that a lot of that is.
So,
but the whole thing is we don't put enough importance on marriage anymore. And that breaking apart is why so many kids nowadays are just listless.
Mm-hmm. A little personal story of an ex-friend of mine, I guess, here in America. One of my first friends in America, which shocked the shit out of me. But he was single. He married a woman with a child already. She was never married. They got together. They never got married. They lived together. They had 2 children. And one day they decided to divorce. And I took the guy to a bar just to ease his mind and all of that. But immediately, within a couple of days, he was already looking at other ladies. And I'm like, dude, you just fucking left your girlfriend's / not official wife with 2 children and you're already looking at other women. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I cut ties with him at that point. But just that thought process, how do you get to that point where that's what you're thinking about? I don't get it.
I like to address 2 things. One thing I wanted to say is I agree with Royce. I think the heavy part of it, I think a large part of it is outside a lot of religious institutions and personal homely institutions, if you will, or ideologies. There's no real reverence or Yeah, let's go reverence towards the sanctity of marriage. There's no real reverence in any regard. In every single regard, there's always a but or a what or to water down this or that. And to address Kikoman, I see a shit ton of that everywhere, even amongst some guys that I know fought for their marriage for years. With them, I kind of understand more because they fought for their marriage for years and then their wife straight up abandoned them. And then they go through like a terrible phase. But even them, they end up kind of ending up sleeping with other women because it's become this weird Western thought that that's almost like a physical comfort food. You go out there
Oh,
and you sleep
God.
with another person,
Yeah.
and then somehow that's supposed to make everything better, sleeping with these random strangers.
Hey,
It's
Royce,
yeah, part of Western thought.
you would love the Philippines where it's illegal to get divorced. So they take marriage super
Well,
serious.
and like I said, when you commit yourself to that person, if you commit yourself to that person, you know, the idea that leaving that person, and it's not just a you thing, right? Like I said, I think that there's a God factor here. But you commit yourself to that person, you know, and then all of a sudden you go, look, there's abuse, there's infidelity, there's all of these things, and you walk away from that. I just don't think that it's right that you turn around and you go, oh, I'm gonna go sleep with that thing and make a new life with that. If you're gonna walk away from that thing, even for bad reasons, again, I get it, but to tarnish that togetherness and what men and women can share like that, you know. And it's, for instance, I know men and women who they were like, look, I found my person. Turns out they were horrible people, but I will not be with another person because I won't show my kids that it's right to do that. I've met people like that. But they didn't get divorced. They just had to leave. They just couldn't be in that situation for their own health and for their own safety. They had to. But I respect that much more than people who will go out and they'll get married again in another year or two or 6 months later, or you know.
Oh man, I got some stories involving that.
Oh,
I
dude.
remember. Yeah, don't I ain't gonna go down that way. But
yeah, let's.
another part of
I
not
have successfully derailed the Wrangler stream.
I think another
drink
part
with crazy.
another part to not really respecting the sanctity of marriage, I think heavily influences the lack of respect someone will have for their partner within the marriage, you know? And disrespecting the sanctity of marriage, you're going to end up with a douchebag in one way or another, it's a life ruining proposition, which is horrible. And on top of all the legal issues, that's just the social ramifications.
Dude.
And even before then, I think to respect the sanctity of marriage, we have to be beyond picky. And I dare I say it, selfish to who you marry. Be selfish about who you marry. Don't give in to people with faults that you don't like. Be selfish as hell. You know, don't leave any room for this because it's heavily going to affect your life. And me being in the modern day dating market and actually going out there and trying, going on some dates, I'm telling you, the way we do it literally sets people up for failure because the way people date is they put on a fake mask and pretend to be somebody else to try to attract the other person in hopes that who they are underneath the mask is worth it or whatever. And I've seen it too much times. I've been a part of it too much times, and it's relentless. It's everywhere out there. Nobody's
so James,
real.
I kind of disagree with you on that one.
All right, go ahead.
Kind of. I think a big part of the issue we're having right now is that we lack of shame in society anymore.
I'd say that goes with reverence. Like for instance, the other day I was watching the stream where somebody was making fun of my God. I'll be honest, I'm a religious person. They end up not even making fun of my God, but go off the rails for like a good 30, 40 seconds. And I decided, I watched the stream forever, but I'm not going to put up with it anymore because I show reverence to this regard. So I left a message straight up there saying, hey, this was unsolicited, didn't respect it. I'm not going to watch the stream anymore and bye. I don't care how they see it. Some people are like, oh, look at this crude bastard. But like, No, I think that's a part of reverence. You're really going to sit there, like, think about it. If you show reverence to your wife, people show reverence to football teams, and we somehow get it when people get upset over their football team. But we're not going to show reverence to like a god you officially
Dude,
worship.
I have seen people put more ritual and more reverence towards their football game on Sundays than they will for God. Dude,
Who they
it
believe in. And I say that to other
infuriates
Christians.
me
That's what you
when
believe
you
in, you know?
look around church on Sundays and people are wearing their
jerseys,
football jerseys.
Yep.
I cannot, like, I grew up in a church where had that happened,
Wow.
you know, the priest would go to that person and just say, hey, and they would be very nice about it. But hey, just so you know, here in the church, we want to make sure people are putting on their Sunday best for God. You know, the jerseys, it's not something that we do. We want to make sure we do it. And they're very nice about it. Some people get super pissed and just, well, screw you. I'm going to wear, and they would leave. But the priests were never mean. They were never rude. They never said anything bad. They said, hey, just here, we don't do this. And some people were like, oh, and you'd see them the next week, and they were in a dress shirt and even jeans. But you know, again, and they weren't asking for a 3-piece suit. They were, hey,
all being presentable.
Oh, thank God, yes. And it's like, you know, I used to have this idea of, you know, when I walk out of the house, and I still have this idea to this day, when I walk out of the house, I am a representation of every person that I, good or bad, that I have ever met in my life. And how do I want to represent, again, the good or bad, the people in my life? Do I want people? No. I walk out, yeah, and I might wear just a black t-shirt, jeans, and my boots. But I don't go out there looking like a person of Walmart, you know, just, you know, look like a...
Thanks.
I go out there wearing
Maji-chan, I'm sorry. don't, Maji-chan, don't be insulted by me, because if you tell my wife, she's gonna hurt me. My wife loves you.
No, just give me a shit. I know what you're talking about. I've seen it.
Walmart.
She works around him.
Oh.
Don't feel too bad. She ruined some like kid's dream of playing a video game at one point.
That's for the best.
What did I do to someone's kid?
Come on, you know.
Can't come by it because the mom wasn't there. It was an underage kid.
Oh yeah, well, screw that shit. I wasn't gonna let that dude anywhere near that kid.
To Asher Bruner down here, you know, people will talk about, you know, Christianity, and then they have football, and it's like, but many of the football fans claim to be Christians, and they show more reverence to football than they do Christianity or God. Like, it's insane.
More people.
Priorities wrong.
There's many people that religiously go off to work every day, and then they say they're Christians and such, and they don't. Again, they also don't show as much reverence for church.
You know, and I say this, and here's the crap part. This is the utterly disgusting part about all of this. I haven't been to mass in years. And that's on me. But I say this, and I haven't been to mass in years. But I haven't been to mass, and I'm still working through some things myself. But I would not. I honestly think if the next time that I step foot in a church for mass that's going to be a very emotional moment for me. But I could not imagine putting a football game or a soccer game or putting men above somebody that we say is the creator of everything.
When did Ferris Bueller's best friend join us?
What's going on, Richard? How are you doing?
Booted me out when he did.
It's turning into an Iron Age Nights.
I know.
Right? Those are the best of nights.
I
Hey,
think
keep your
me and
eyes down,
Kikomon are
sir.
the only oddballs out on this one. Everybody else is published of some kind.
I mean, you got that one thing, right? That
The one thing, yeah,
story?
the one thing.
That's published. Check
I
these
got one thing
days.
too.
Basically.
It's starting out. You got to start with one thing. I mean, come on.
Exactly. Got to start
Yeah,
somewhere.
you.
Hey, Iron Age, don't look up.
Hi.
Yeah, I try
He
not
says
to.
hi.
I have always meant to send you my stuff eventually, and I eventually will.
Okay, well, I'll be eventually waiting.
Yeah, he has sent me his stuff, and I have not gotten to it. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
All right. I figured, you got a list of things, although mine is particularly short. The short story.
What he's
Which means
saying
you can
is
put
you
in
need
the
to read
front.
it.
Yeah. Do that.
I
love
think
you.
the 5 people in the chat are all in here, so it's okay.
Yeah, right? It's a private, personal conversation that can bleed out to the chat.
I don't know, Royce, about your previous topic about churches. I'm honestly quite disgusted going into churches nowadays. First of all, with the COVID lockdowns, they bailed, but at the same time, when you go there, you see people dress well,
I
they
don't-
behave nice, but
I-
then
I-
they
but
go
I-
out
I don't-
and
I don't-
after.
And I don't go to church for the people. I understand that. I'm aware of how people are. I don't go to a church. I go to mass, and I go to the traditional Latin rite. And then it is a very, very different experience. Very, very different experience.
I got to try that out one of these days. I've only been to a Protestant church.
Look for the FFSSP. I think it's the Priestly Fraternity of St. Peter, and look for a traditional Latin mass.
Yeah.
It is the reverence there is very, very different.
Different vibe, yeah, for sure. I was raised Baptist in like small church in a very small community, so everyone there like knew each other. My mom's still friends with a lot of the people she went to church with.
So jokes aside, because there's a joke here,
Those
and
were
everybody does it. But when I was younger, I was an altar boy. Okay.
Okay.
No,
And
what?
Joe, but here's the thing, okay. When you're in the traditional rite, every movement is the same in the mass every single week. It's all the same, and it is all. And there was one kid that I loved to when he and I were paired up on the altar. I loved because we would talk about it. We would talk about making sure that our movements were in sync with each other, making sure that our timing was perfect. We actually got told by our priest one time, he goes, your Latin needs a lot of work, but your reverence on the altar is there. And we were just like, and we worked on our Latin. I mean, our Latin was bad. We were trying to speed through it, but we would talk with each other. Okay, so when we're done with this, what we're going to do is we worked to make sure that we would never turn our backs towards the tabernacle, right? That was just small things like that. How we would just everything. We would make sure that our steps were in time with each other when we would have to go to opposite sides of the altar and come back down. It's just a totally different reverence, right? And it was something that we worked on, and something that I still remember to this day. And then I also served with kids who you'd say, oh, well, how come you became an altar boy? Well, because my mom and dad said I'd have to be or I'd be grounded. And I'm just like,
That's
I
one way to do
fucking
it.
hate these people. I hate them. I can't stand them.
Yeah,
oh my God. And they're
It's detrimental.
I hate them.
I
don't
been
know.
to church
I,
for like
now,
12
Kiko, I know what you mean about like being disgusted with the church because like the people go there and they're putting on a front.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that's why you gotta, if you're looking for a church, you gotta find people who are genuine because that is the whole purpose of a church, Royce. I know you said you don't go there for the people, but the point of the church is for God's people to have community with each other.
When two or more of you are gathered in my name.
Actually reminds me of this pastor who was at this
Sure, we got nine
mega
here.
church. And after a while, he said that, mega churches keep on falling into the same issues. So he decided that what he was going to do is disband the megachurch, and they were going to set up pocket churches that were just going to be like you guys kind of live over here, so that's going to be your community, and you're going to have church together. And you guys kind of live over there, so that's your community. You're going to have church together, and he's going to rotate between each other's houses and have church at each other's houses every other Sunday. And he said that exploded within their community, and just went everywhere.
I live in the Bible Belt, so you could throw a fucking stone and hit a damn church somewhere around here.
Well, I lived in a Mexican neighborhood. Trust me, we probably got as many, if not more. Like ridiculous. It's like sometimes I'll look into a corner, like, is that a Radio Shack? Oh no, that's a church. Oh my goodness.
Off of my main street, there's a Baptist church on both sides of the street. And it's like I avoid both of them. I end up going to the Presbyterian church because it's more orthodox in nature than the Baptist ones.
Yeah, I haven't been to church in like 12 years, but also don't really consider myself a Christian. So, you know.
Yeah. I was raised Baptist, and currently my family goes to a Lutheran church, which is pretty similar. But for a few times when I went into a Catholic church, I was like, we're both Christian, but this is so different from what I'm used to, because there's a lot of almost very ritualistic processes to go through that they did all the time, which I wasn't used to that. It seemed like such a whole nother world. Dudist priest.
I'm a Dudist priest. I'm ordained minister in the Church of Latter-day Dude.
There he is. He's a minister.
You're a Dudist.
I was being trained to be somewhat of a minister once by a Messianic rabbi. I trained at the feet of a Messianic rabbi at the San Jacinto Mountains for about 4 years of my life to decipher the word God in Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic.
I inherently have an issue.
Great.
Wow.
I inherently have an issue with the priests. Men should never hold any men above them, and it seems like priests love to preach, but never to answer questions or address the community. They just go on the stage, collect the money, send their pre-selected messages from the Bible, and call it a day.
I don't know what churches you've been to, but the fucking my mother's church, our preacher's not like that. It's a very good dude.
Well, that's
I met both of them. I met both of the preachers, those who actually do kind of chill, and other ones that they scoot on, or they got to preach somewhere else an hour kind of ordeal.
Yeah, there's a large difference in churches, and that's been one of the things in trying to search for.
There's no quality control. There's no quality control.
Yeah, well, part of it was also due to the community within the church, because like both of the Baptist church I went to, like as soon people show up like right before the service or late, and then as soon as the service is over, they get up and leave. Nobody talks with each other. It's like they're just gone.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. Like if you go to a church these days, which isn't too bad, I think, because you'd have to take responsibility for who you hang out with afterwards and kind of reach out to people. But I really stopped going because I've, at least within my area, being a like non-denominational Protestant, there was, I guess you'd say, a ceiling to what you can get communally from the way churches are operated, at least around here, because I could only speak for my area. And then once you kind of reach that ceiling, you kind of just do everything outside of church, people you met from church, or you just fall off.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also noticed that in the mega church scene, it's actually been producing a lot of media creators across the board. And a lot of people that I know that started off in church are actually coming up in a lot of their own industries. And that's because churches actually provide the tools and the utilities and the space to put you through a minor boot camp, because they like to produce shit tons of media. So they need more media every single week, every single month. And if you're a volunteer, they got the equipment, they got the know-how, and they'll teach you how. And then when you walk out of there 2 years later, you'll be an expert.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I know a few experts in their fields, which I should reach out to, see if they can help me out a bit with my my ongoing project.
Like, anybody know what the LCMS stands for in that?
I was just about to ask.
LCMS.
I don't.
Yeah, that's a new one to me.
There's a
Asher.
lot of
Sure,
them.
if you would be so kind to
Strength
clarify,
Christian? I don't know.
or else we're just going to make up our own acronyms off of this. And
Yeah, I
who
know,
knows
right?
where that's going to go?
I already thought of a fucked up one.
Oh.
But I'm not gonna say it.
No.
Okay, Lutheran Church, the Missouri Synod.
Little
that?
child molesters.
The
No.
Lutheran
No.
Church.
Really?
Lutheran
Satanists.
Church. But
So I was right. It is Lutheran.
It is
It's
messed
the
up. It's
Missouri
actually from
Synod.
the reputation.
It's the Missouri Synod. So it's a specific group. And kind of like what I found with the Presbyterian Church is if you go to one of the normal Presbyterian churches, it's Presbyterian Church USA. And they're a very liberal branch. And I can't deal with them. But
I know a few of them.
two of the churches that I've been going to are both Presbyterian Church in America. And they're more of I can't remember. Well, the Presbyterian Church in America is a specific Presbyterian branch that they are. It'd be kind of like saying the Missouri Synod.
They're
Yeah,
over.
well-
They're all around the country. The one he's saying. The LCMS.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's Missouri.
Like previously, the Presbyterian church that I grew up in was out of it was the Southern Presbyterian
I'll be
Church
right
or
back,
something like
guys.
that. Okay, and they were gobbled up into the Presbyterian Church USA, and they had to fight for several years to get out of that. And I believe they joined the Evangelical Presbyterian Church.
Hey, that's exactly what happened to me. My church was a Presbyterian church, and then they were part of PCUSA, and they were a fairly wealthy church, but they wanted the property, and so they tried to basically just kick all of our pastors out and take it over.
Yeah.
And didn't want to let them leave, and so they basically had to completely rebuy the property. Which
my parents' church was able to fight
Yeah.
them off, and then they helped several other churches in the Kansas City area fight them off as well.
Yeah, they were. I mean, this all to me, a lot of this is. It's very unfortunate. Like, I'm very disappointed with churches in general, unfortunately. But my thing is that if you trace a lot of this back, it goes back to the National Council of Churches back in the 1950s, I think. And that's when you had this big nationalizing and internationalizing force to, push everyone into the exact same. Have a good one. Push everyone to basically homogenize and get along and become more and more dependent on whatever coastal centralized hubs, essentially. So you kept pushing people for tax purposes into bigger and bigger pools, and then you would top down control those pools. Now, I'm personally of the opinion that and this is just me, but I've had a great deal of disappointment with the non-denominational churches in general, because they're unanchored and you're asking too much of a single pastor to run an entire church and have a vision for where that church should go decades in advance. And that's the kind of knowledge that should have been passed on from older pastors, other pastors.
Yeah.
And all that knowledge has just been eradicated systematically, intentionally. And
Yeah, that's true.
and it's like, man, they really made a concerted effort to destroy the church long before the clear shattering of social power of the churches.
I have a very different view on this. Like, growing up, I used to go to churches, then I became an atheist, and eventually I came back to religion. But the way I can see it is, God gave us the Holy Spirit. God gave us the option to know, the ability to know right from wrong. He gave us the order. We have the Bible for reference. We don't need a pastor. We don't need.
I mean, that's in contradiction of what, the early church, even Christ
The early
said.
church, yeah, but nothing in the Bible contradicts that. Jesus didn't fund churches. Jesus didn't create churches. Jesus made sure to explain to us that no man should be above us, and we keep looking at priests as figures above men, which they are.
I mean, I don't know
But that's more of a personal problem on that person's point, putting that priest as so high instead of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's kind of like, and this is one of the things. This is why I don't really. I mean, like, I understand libertarianism on the government side, but to eschew all organization everywhere in all regards, it to me is a bit like.
I'm not saying in all regards,
No,
but
well, I mean, but listen, you can say you can't put anybody above you. Okay, so you can't listen to a sermon. You're
can
saying
listen.
priest. Well,
You
then I think you're conflating priests with pastors. Okay, first of all,
I
not
don't know the
every
difference between
Christian
the two.
church is the Catholic Church, and I do have problems with things like intercessory prayer and all this other stuff. But that's a side note. To me, to say that there's literally that there should be no organizational structure to the church is to kind of like deny reality to a certain degree. Like, you're supposed to have family, like you need to listen to your mother and father, and
I fully
as
encourage
that,
gathering the community, gathering local families together in one building to proclaim the words of God and all of that. But the moment you put a leader in charge,
so do you oppose, for example, the community getting together and paying a pastor to
if it becomes an expectation, and well,
what do you
at
mean
least
an expectation? Like, you might or might not give them money depending
no,
on how
no.
good the sermon
The,
is?
the churches I went to were very black and white. You had sinners all over the place, blatant sinners who put a face mask on top of them while they go to the church, and then as soon as they leave the church building, they go right back to sinning. They're never being challenged. The pastor or priest, or I don't know what's the difference between the two, never listens to grievances from the audience, never listens to issues, or tries to guide the community in any shape, way, or form. They just preach certain biblical verses. They expect to collect donations. You have the feel of guilt in the church if you do not donate or cannot afford to donate. And
I think you've been to like really bad experiences with
Yeah.
your churches.
I mean,
man.
listen, and I'm not saying that there's not bad churches. I would agree with that.
Asher brought up a good point about Timothy saying that we should have deacons. And that's one of the things that I appreciate within the Presbyterian ancestry, the history and stuff, because we're supposed to have a group of elders, and they're the ones that are in charge of basically the church. And the elders, it may depend on the group or which thing you're in, but the elders are basically supposed to run the church, keep track of the property and everything, and provide the pastor. The problem that happens with the Presbyterian Church USA, the one that we're both having issues with, is that they say that they own the property and everything of the church. Whereas in the ancestry of the Presbyterian Church, it is the elders that are supposed to own and be in charge of that, because it's the church itself that's supposed that location is supposed to have ownership over the building and stuff. And that church is made up of the community that's under the elders that basically should know who the elders are in their church. And I think some of them even vote on who their elders are. So in that sense, it's very much the community of the church that runs the church, not some far-flung outside that's sent a pastor there to run things for them.
You know, it's very interesting hearing that because, like I said, people do church completely different where you come from. We kind of go off of I guess they call it church in the wilderness model, which is basically the priests are the ones who take care of the facilities, take care of the churches, take in the offerings, things like that.
Yeah,
Pastors
because
often the ones that delivers the message and helps lead the people.
well, that's because
It's
me
like,
and you, James, our churches are more independent. It isn't usually owned by some conglomeration or anything like that.
yeah. That one did become. It was a mega church, and it did have issues with more so just two pastors. But the good news about churches who are like that on their own, basically the staff that's there or the priests that are there, um, they are the ones that have to do 90% of the things. So if you're in it for any nefarious reasons, you're probably not going to last very long. And if you don't got what it takes, it's going to show extremely soon. The downside was that a lot of them were a bit too. I remember that show. A lot of them were just a bit too forgiving of the bad pastors.
Kiko, I wanted to address real quick what you had to say. I'm not sure what have you been specifically to just one type of church or whatever, because I've never seen an issue where the preachers weren't approachable to where like, hey, I got an issue here. You'd be able to sit and talk to them.
Or how big were these churches, just out of curiosity?
I have
Hundreds of people. I don't know. I'm living in a suburb next to Minneapolis, so the churches are huge.
Yeah, that's a big church problem there, bro. I know those very
Yeah.
well. And what you end up happening is you have your big honcho church who started it all, and he's usually some prick that feels like he has to have his fingers everywhere all the time. And then you usually look, in my experience, towards the younger, not the younger ones, but like the ones came in after them once everything was set up, and then those guys kind of like seem much more communally based.
Yeah, maybe that's why I've never seen that issue myself. Is all the churches I've been to have been like less than 100 people or tops out around 100 people.
I mean,
so they've been smaller town churches. So maybe that's why I don't see the same issues that you've seen, Kiko.
I mean, there's definitely church as a business, right? Nonprofits are extremely unethical, and not all nonprofits, but I would say a majority of nonprofits are extremely run in a very unethical manner. That's just by the numbers, not necessarily by the cash flow. Although by the cash flow, it's probably like 95% whenever you take into things like, what is like Susan B. Komen, the cancer research and all these other ones that scoop up insane amounts of money and have like a 5% pass-through rate.
Right.
But you gotta steer clear of the people who are doing church as a business. And I mean,
those are going to be the ones mainly online I've seen these days.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say now because it's very difficult. To me, there's things that you have to look for a good church. You kind of have to go, and if you can, like, despite what you just said, I always look and see what their sermons are online, and then I also look and see how many pastors they have and what kind of outreach they do. The less local outreach, the more likely it is to be kind of like church as a business. So like if they're just giving money to, some anonymous group in Afghanistan, or maybe not Afghanistan, but somewhere, then that's not as good of an indicator. Whereas if they have like multiple pastors and some are dedicated to like local outreach and some are dedicated to international outreach and so on and so forth, I think that's the sign of like a good stability. Because like I said, one of the problems I've had is very small non-denominational churches get going and then they sort of don't know what to do once they get bigger. And so like a pastor might be good with like 20 people in his congregation, but he doesn't know what to do with 2,000 people in a church in multiple services, So it's real difficult. But all that structure that used to exist for pastors and priests or whatever has been really knocked out.
And in a
on the
lot of
Protestant
ways,
side.
churches are also forced to look at it through a business lens as well, because of all the stuff that just gets dropped on them, for facilities and then upkeep and things of that nature.
Well, there's one interesting way of looking at it. Asher Burnett says, when looking for a church, always interview the pastor. He works for you. If he does not suit your needs, look somewhere else. But I would actually like to add to that, and maybe this might sound a little oversimplified, but if you're looking for a church, try praying. Because, pray to God and he'll probably help lead you to where you need to be. And churches are, this is really weird coming from me, a guy who's a total shut-in, but churches, I think, are more important than I've given them credit for over the years, because that's the whole point of them, is the community. And people need community in order to, without community, people start to fall apart. And when there's,
right,
spiritual beliefs do not have the same reverence that used to be given to them by the general culture today that they used to have. And that's why community is so important. Without that, we kind of fall apart.
Community is exactly what I think churches are made for, but it's kind of confusing for me, at least, because right around me there's like 6 or 8 churches. All of them have hundreds of people. I don't think I can point out which community which one represents. Yeah. And they all give their political opinions. From what I've heard, they all cherry pick specific Bible topics that they want to talk. And well, again, I won't jump into my own subjective experience, but I didn't have a good one around me, at least.
Well, that was something that my parents ran into, is that when I was a little baby, they were going to this Baptist church, and apparently the pastor was preaching politics. And the elder, I don't know if they were actually like elders, like in the Presbyterian sense of the word, but some of the elders tried to rein the pastor in, and he just kept going. And so one of the elders in the church was like, okay, well, we're going to go and start a separate church, and we're just going to run it for 10 years. And this is kind of a way to allow people to get back to God without the politics, and a way to find another church. So, you're welcome to show up, but we're just going to do this for 10 years, and then you need to go and find another church. And that's what I remember growing up in. And about the time that shut down was when we ended up going to the Presbyterian church.
See,
and Raven, kind of to your point, it's like, can you, in the middle of the sermon, stand up in opposition to whatever the priest says and challenge him on something he said and help make him justify his claims? And from my experience in all churches, everyone shuts up. The priest babbles whatever he wants, and yeah, you can meet with them offline later. Well,
have you ever done it, Kiko Man?
What?
Have you ever got up and then confronted your priest right in the middle of the sermon?
I tried, yes.
You tried.
I got booed.
Yeah,
at that point, leave.
I left, and I left.
That's what I would do. But it seems to me like you just have bad churches all around you.
Yeah, probably. Well,
you haven't found.
I don't know what.
But remember, he said the ones around him, they're like giant congregations where they probably don't even know each other.
Well, also, I don't know. This is why I would vet a church before I go. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. I don't know. I think that a lot of people are, to be fair, a lot of people are probably zoned out, not even paying attention, right? And unless you're in a certain type of church and shouting, hallelujah and amen in the middle of the sermon, that's about the only thing you're really expected to do.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be surprised. Like that's just like a large breach of decorum, I would say. So
And that's my problem with churches. In the last one that I got kicked off, and since then I've never went, was in 2020, where they announced that they're going to shut down the church and go online. And I told them, this is the place of faith. You need to keep this open. And no, fuck you. Shut down right away. I tried to stand up. People around me booed, and I sat right back and walked away.
Yeah. In my experience, when it comes to larger churches, the vast majority, not all of them, but the vast majority of people, best way I like to describe it is church is supposed to be essentially like a spiritual gas tank. You park park the car in, fill up your tank, and then keep on going down your merry way. That's what church is. But the way people often use it is they more so just park their spiritual car in a spiritual driveway that's in church, and then they walk off, and then they come back to be their spiritual selves and broom the engine a little bit when they're at church, and then just walk off again, not really trying to be anything more spiritual than what they are at church and keeping it mostly at church. And then that's where you get a lot of this, what I call big church mentality. Because that's a lot of issues I had at the church that I went to. And the only reason I stuck around wasn't the main pastor, but the pastor under him, because that guy took it 10 times more seriously than he did, is in like the more reverential side of things. Because they would just stand up there and say, oh, well, we'll go ahead and get you out of here to watch the big game and shit like that. It's like, come on, you're a church. You're better than the big game. That's why people are here. This is the big game, so to say. But it became more about the ceremony and how people felt rather than what they may have been learning, or even hearing. Because if you even think about it, the way we do churches now wasn't 100% the way Jesus did churches. Like really, really, really different, actually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I would even contest most churches don't even have real deacons anymore. Because if you read the Bible, it tells you there a deacon is supposed to be challenged. It's supposed to be tested. How much people really go about testing their volunteers? Throw a little lanyard on them. Welcome to the team.
I know nothing about the selection process for a deacon. Like I said,
Believe it or not,
I may have
it's
been
one
raised
of those-
Baptist, but
yeah.
I've not.
You can
been
find
an
out
active
in less
in
than an
church in
hour.
years.
You can find out in less than an hour because it's in one of the shortest books. I think it's like the book of Timothy. It's pretty short. It's like on one page. Selection process is not long, but you do have to test them. And I have never been to a
believe
church.
Asher had mentioned that.
Yeah. And that's what technically the quote unquote voluntary role is supposed to be in the more Protestant based churches is the deacons, but they're not tested. In my experience.
Oh, wow. So Asher brought up in the LCMS church, at the end of every service, anyone is allowed to say anything, be it a complaint about the pastor or other.
See, all this is kind of strange to me.
What is your experience, Maji?
Well, this might cause a riot, but I actually was raised LDS or Mormon, so
Okay.
listening to you guys talk about structure and stuff is kind of interesting because they've established that a long time ago.
They're really good at it.
Yeah, they're really good at that. And then like all the spending, like for people who donate to the church and stuff, you can find that on their main website. Every year they do an annual report and put it right out for everyone to see, so there's no questions asked where all the money went. But so hear about this is kind of interesting because like the way that they mention politics and stuff, they're like, be mindful of your local governments because they are a worldwide church. They're like, be mindful of your local governments. Don't just pick a side to pick a side. Actually study their candidates, pray, meditate, and then decide for yourself which way you want to go. But they actually frown down upon not participating in politics because that could lead to government ruin or society ruin.
Yep, which I think is something that we're currently seeing is that a lot of people in the church just want to stay out of politics because it's just something extra that they have to deal with, and they just want to vote for whoever the cool person is or whoever somebody else tells them to vote for, and it's sad.
There's a lot of that here, and there's a lot of local politics. I hate to say it, in churches, because local politicians will threaten to kind of come down harder on churches if they don't get certain supports in some regards, which is kind of funny.
Not in my town. Not in my mother's
Yeah,
church.
very different areas. Very, very different areas. Like, you live in the Bible Belt. I live in California in a mainly Mexican area, but we probably have just a similar amount of churches. I guarantee you that. You have much more traditional ones, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's all about which way the power flows, right?
Yeah.
But
anyway, it is getting late. We're going to have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
So,
They're getting
any last
very-
thoughts anybody wants to get out, and then after that, do plugs.
I think I said a lot already.
Alrighty. Well, everybody, let's mention where we could find your work. Let's ironage.media. Richard, we'll start with you.
well, that's an easy one. You can find it at ironage.media. Voting for the short story submissions back in December are going on, one of which is from Maji-chan. So make sure you check those out and leave some feedback with them, and vote for your favorites.
Okay, Trippy.
Trippy.
Trippy, are you tripping?
Yeah, no, I'm unmuted. You can find me on trippysoul.substack.com. It's basically my collection of my poetry there.
All right. Maji, anything you're working on that you want to shout out?
Nah, keep trucking. Keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, hopefully, the Iron Age will come out and all the garbage will go away.
Check out our Substack, matrixbearer.substack.com. I think
There's like literally one story on it right now.
you can still check it out and
Well,
sign
it's a
up
start,
with your
yeah.
email.
Okay, Billy Bobsack.
Do my tits look like sagging? You know.
Indeed, they do.
They're very good.
They're,
They're very
quirkish.
lovely man boobs. Moobs, I believe.
They're chesticles. Okay.
Of course.
To match those earlobes.
Yeah. Them
And the
sexy
head.
earlobes.
Briny earlobes.
Yes.
Kikoman, anything you want to shout out?
Kikoman soy sauce.
For your help. Show me. Show you.
Kikoman.
All right. James Esparza, creator
Yeah.
of The World Without End.
Yes, I am
hope didn't
James
just steal your
Esparza.
thunder.
Right, thank you. James Esparza, creator of World Without End. It is a brand new dark fantasy sci-fi universe with heavy emphasis on sci-fi as well as fantasy. You get a lot. There's a universe built to house all my crazy ideas into one, and it is finally coming to life over the last couple of weeks and months. I finally got a Substack out. You can find it at worldwithoutendlore.substack.com. I've already released one story every single month, as well as a bunch of lore goodies in the forms of poems, fictional newspapers for the cyberpunk faction. And I also have a website that's been up, jam-packed with lore, art, maps, regions, everything that you'd love for you lore junkies at worldwithoutendlore.com. And there's going to be a lot more to come. So I'll see you next Monday.
And also the YouTube channel.
And the thank you. I almost forgot about my own YouTube channel, which is updated daily with lore shorts at World Without End Lore on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay. Raven Nevermore, anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I've got the stuff at minds.com/Raven Nevermore. And then I've also set up a Substack, and I'm slowly copying the stuff over from minds.com. And once that is caught up to speed, as I put more stuff on there, I will also put that on the Substack as well. Otherwise, I'm working on the book still. It's going to be a ways away.
All right.
What
I'm
genre is
looking
your book?
forward to that.
Yep, thank
Fantasy.
Sweet.
I'm thinking the right thing, right?
you. Yeah, definitely. It's fantasy.
All right. And also don't forget to check out Haley Starr, Bad Kitty, a nice low fantasy sci-fi adventure. Haley and Elizabeth, they go on their first adventure together, or get kind of shoved into their first
Those are the best adventures.
Adventure
Oh,
together.
man.
But it's a fun sci-fi underground romp. Check it out. All right, guys. Thank you all for coming on. If you enjoyed this presentation, hit the like. If you didn't, I appreciate you stopping by. See y'all next time, and God bless.
See ya.
Goodbye.